Hey folks, it's Will Menaker here. Welcome to your Chapo. We got a very special episode for you on one of our old favorites, Aaron Sorkin. So this might actually be worth 2 episodes. I didn't get all the way through it because there's a lot. There's a lot. He speaks very fast too. So an hour of Sorkin is like 3 hours of a normal person.
That's true. I think that's the exact ratio.
Yeah. So I actually, in my insane boredom, decided to subscribe to the Masterclass series, which bills itself as an online education outlet, but it's more of kind of like a venture capitalist celebrity seminar thing. It is deranged bullshit, which I knew going in, but I wanted to see like what this economy was. And also it has some really good people on it, which is insane.
Yeah.
It has like David Lynch.
Yeah, that's how they got everybody paying attention, because they came out of the gate with huge, big people in all these fields.
Yeah, well, they also had Kevin Spacey and Dustin Hoffman at some point, but those have been removed.
What?
Yup. Yeah.
Oh.
Which is terrible because I would love to watch Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, I mean, how the hell do you do
acting.
a Jack Lemmon impression? That's amazing. It's one of the hardest ones you could do, and he has a perfect one. I want to hear how he does it.
So I think it's just
the
like
Phil
worth.
Spector Masterclass was very poorly received. I like killing your wife Masterclass. It's like, we're not saying you should do it, but if you do it, this is the way that it should be done.
If you wanted to, there is a way. There are techniques. There are procedures. This has been specialized and honed.
There are people who are great at killing their wives. They're called Russians.
Like, there's weird shit in it, too. Like, there's, like, Misty Copeland, and she's, like, the principal dancer for, like, the American Ballet, and, like, it's a technique class, and I'm like, there's no way this is a technique class, because you can't, like, ballet technique is, like, an advanced thing, and the entire premise of ballet is that you do these fundamentals, and you build on them, and, like, professional dancers take, like, ballet 1 over and over again to perfect, like, the move. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm, like, looking at it, and, like, there are a few things that are, like, sort of ballet-specific, like where she talks about building up so much muscle that she lost her flexibility. But the majority of it is just, like, you know, what she expects is, like, you know, sometimes people are going to tell you don't have the right body or the right look, but, you know, they're just strong, and you have to keep doing it. And, like, I don't give a shit, girl, cash that check. You can't be a dancer forever. But it is, like, really insane that everyone kind of knows that this service isn't providing like hard skills or real classes. It's like motivational talks, most of it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, someone will apparently give you like something good. Like apparently the Lynch one has like him saying like, so you get note cards, which is good technical advice. And actually Sorkin gave at least one piece of good technical advice, which is like start by adapting a short story.
Yeah,
everything else is bullshit.
Yeah, no, the Sorkin one. So I only watched the Sorkin one, but while I was watching the Sorkin one, I was like wondering what these are for, kind of. And the most likely answer is like this is money laundering. But if I'm going to take them at their word that this is a service that is a for-profit company service, who's it for? It's for like people who just turned either 30 or 40. And they're freaking out about that age, and then they see things that are like, oh yeah, well Marilyn Monroe was actually 53 years old when she was in her first movie, so it's never too late to start in anything. Did you? Yeah, Carlos Santana, he was in hospice care when he released his first album. So no, it's people like that who are like, look, it's not too late. I'm not gonna be a. I mean, what's a job someone like this would have? It would be like an actuary. I don't want to be an actuary forever. I want to write my movie about an
actuary that has a lot of sex.
Real actuary who fucks a lot on Match.com, or like the guy who invented Jawbreakers. I'm not gonna just give up here. I'm not just gonna resign to the rest of my life. It's made for like sort of nervous, solidly middle or upper middle class people who want to pursue a creative ambition. So most of the advice they get isn't real. It's just to like allay an anxiety by virtue of them doing this class and like shitting out whatever creative effort they're taking the master class in.
Right. And like the other thing is that like because this stuff is a lot of it is very craft based, or at least it was initially. Like writing is a craft, dance is a craft, things like that. It doesn't make any sense to put it this way because the actual way to do that is to like do it like if you want to write a novel, you should read novels and start writing. And like that's not interesting advice. And then you should discuss novels with other people and like you have to like do the thing. And these people, I think the people who like this are still kind of rubes that believe in some sort of meritocracy. And they believe that if they like take the class and follow the instruction and like, have some kind of credentialed person, like they too can be, I don't know. It's really strange. But it's definitely like a midlife crisis thing. I think most of the people that are doing it.
And I think that what they're really looking for is permission to pursue it. And they're like, well, I'm just some schmuck. Why am I trying to do something? If you paid X amount of money to hear a person who has X amount of success tell you how to do something, that is like in your head now as a way to actually motivate you to do the thing. Like, of course, I've now paid for the masterclass. I now took the lesson, so I need to do it. And I don't know if that's effective or not, but yeah, the real thing about it is that it is a thing to nudge you in the direction of doing the thing that you want to do. Right. It's not going to give you the skills to do it.
You have a teacher, you in some essence get like the permission that people need, which is like credentials. Like I took a class.
Yes.
Okay. So first I just want to, this is why this might actually bleed over into a second episode at some point. I just want to talk about where this business model came from. So the Masterclass, again, billed as like an online education service, but it's like the venture capital, like celeb seminar streaming service. So it started by these two guys, Aaron Rasmussen and David Rogier. Aaron Rasmussen's first sort of venture was something called Harkos Laboratories.
Oh, that sounds totally legitimate and not terrifying.
Uh-huh. Okay. So he was working in robotics in Silicon Valley, as you can imagine. When he was studying robotics in college, his like senior project was a robotic gun, a sentry gun.
Cool.
Right. So cool guy already, straight out the gate. He goes on to, when he's working in robotics, found this place called Harkos Laboratories in 2008. So they sold what they call energy supplements. It was a gamer fuel outlet specifically for a specific type of nerd. So it's not just gamer. I mean, like, it's not even like the carbonated kind. It's the Kool-Aid kind, right? It is like one of the early people who said like, hey, do you want to stay up all night playing video games? Here's a thing. But they had a novelty angle to it. So, for example, one of their products is called Blood Energy Potion. And it comes in like a fake IV bag and is made to look like blood. And,
my God.
and it
Awesome.
has 80, and it tastes like fruit punch and has 80 milligrams of caffeine in it. There's also a zombie version, which is green and is lemon lime.
Okay, that's epic. Well, I think G Fuel is like the perfect. They don't literally make G Fuel, but that type of thing is perfect. It's a perfect analog to what Masterclass is.
Yes.
G Fuel it's just like powdered Red Bull that you can make in a shaker bottle or a cup. And the way
this comes in a Capri Sun bag,
right?
Basically.
The way that it's marketed to people is like, oh, do you want to be as good as like fucking Shroud or Ska or Nothing or Simple?
I do, yes.
Yeah, it's like no, it's not just that they have. I mean, I think like a lot of the stuff in Masterclass, just like pro gaming, you can get really good at it, but mostly your ceiling is genetic. Someone who's a world-class CS:GO player, they are just born with better reflexes, better aim, a better game sense, a better ability to figure out what's going on in a game than you ever will have. You can grind that stuff, you can grind aim, you can grind reaction time, but chances are you have a way lower ceiling than they do. I think writing is the same way. I think you can either write something or you can't. You either have like a natural rhythm of how speech works on paper or you don't have it. And I think that you can get better at it, but you're going to have a natural ceiling. Same with like any of the other shit they're really teaching here, pretty much. You are limited genetically in a lot of creative pursuits or athletic pursuits. And but G Fuel has the same, not the same business model, but the same idea as Masterclass, which is like, nah, the only thing separating you from them is that you haven't bought this shit yet.
That's the sell of all supplements, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you can become a better athlete. Maybe this supplement might help if you, like, there is such a thing as sort of like sports health medicine and supplements and stuff like that. But it's like, you are not a Titan and you weren't born with the ability to be that kind of athlete, and buying these things won't make you that. Like, it's an edge you have, plus just a shit ton of boring work and developing a craft. That's what it is.
It's only caring about that thing and then your genetic thing. It's like, I promise, as one of the greatest podcasters who's ever lived, I will never act like you can get my genetic gifts. You, the listener. You can't.
No. Unless, of course, you buy our new Podcasters Fuel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right. Yeah. That could do it.
I'd like to say that, just to go on to the origin story of this guy, the Silicon Valley guys who get into foodstuffs, I find, are often the biggest freaks of them all.
Yeah. Well, anyone who wants to hack eating is a sicko.
Yes.
Terrifying.
And so you read into the Soylent guy, and for what Soylent is, right? The basic idea, if you're coming out being like, I want to make a thing that if you wanted to, you could replace
it's
a meal.
Slim Fast.
Right? You grab it, you drink it, you don't have to eat, it's fine, it's easy. If that was the goal coming out, I'd be like, fine, that's a reasonable thing. But you read about what that guy wanted to do, and he's like, no, I wanted to solve eating.
Yeah, eating was a problem.
Is a problem.
We need to go past eating.
Which is insane.
Yeah. So this stuff did very well, apparently, on paper. I would love to know whether or not it actually did well. As we well know from WeWork, there's a lot of sort of speculative. I mean, Silicon Valley gets to value its own products. So it's very possible it didn't really turn a profit. Then again, I could totally believe that every, accountant that had a Walking Dead party wanted this novelty fake blood at their party that had a bunch of caffeine in it. And it comes in a little bag. It comes in a little bag. That's the thing. This is the sort of thing that, because it's 2008, mind you, so nerd culture and nerd novelty products, huge. Yes.
Hell yes.
Yes, that is what they look like. Yeah.
This is blood energy potion.
I
went with potion.
Taste in the back of my mouth of 2012. I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Just I have a completely clear iPhone case. I'm reading articles on Slate about bodies and spaces. I guess canceling Patton Oswalt. What am I doing in 2012?
You're calling people a fuck waffle.
Yeah.
That's all that's going. It's all just coming up 2008.
Yeah, I'm reading oatmeal comic strips. Feels good.
Right. It may actually did make money. I could totally believe that. That time period, there was a rush on very stupid nerd products.
I demand my I mean, for a while there was a thing where you bought yourself birthday gifts every month and they mailed them to you. Remember that?
Oh my god, yeah, loot boxes in real life. That was awful.
Loot boxes.
Yeah, if you wanted to become a millionaire in 2012, what you had to do was make a type of bacon called man strips that came in a fake first aid kit.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is what this guy did. He made quote unquote energy supplements, but it's it's just high caffeine Kool-Aid for nerds who are extra nerds who want their gamer fuel to have a nerdy reference to it.
To be epic.
And there was only one good game in 2012, and it was Battlefield, and I think it was Battlefield.
Well, I'll have you know that there were at least two, because his project after this was, of course, a game.
Well, wait. What was the game?
You're going to be so mad at me.
Oh, no.
So he crowdfunded an audio-only video game called Blindside that has no visual to it because you're blind in it. Everyone in the world is blind and you have to navigate the world.
This is what every goddamn fucking game was like at that time. Like, something awful happened where everyone who made games, like, they all went to Sarah Lawrence at the same time. And they're like, what if we inverted the tropes of making these fun to fucking play? It almost...
What if we subverted enjoyment?
What if games, but not fun?
Yeah, it was almost like the death of, like, the FPS and TPS genre, because every game that, like, games... I'm going to sound like a Gamergate guy. Every game that journalists wrote about was like, yeah, actually, this game is just that you write an essay and you can't win or lose. Like, it was a fucking awful time. Because
I remember.
Yeah.
It's like
there was a game that
Depression
people kept
Quest.
talking about where you like go through someone's house and like read their mail. Wasn't that a game?
What was
There
the
might have
guy
been
who
a
like was
ghost.
in a bad marriage?
I think that's just something you were doing at the time.
I
No.
think Nick had this game at one point that was just, I think it was just a guy in a bad marriage after one of their kids had died.
Well, yeah, okay, so there was an old game, like, well, you're talking about Hard Rain, which is
Yes.
one of the worst fucking games like that.
I was watching it, I'm like, what is this? Why would anyone play this?
Shout out to CJ, our friend CJ from Eat Chain. He tried playing Hard Rain on stream and quit because there was a part where he had to jam triangle to use the character's inhaler because he was having a panic attack.
You had to collect
I
spoons.
quit because I was like, I got too sad
There's-
playing
yeah.
it.
Well, there is one older game that's like this. It's called Shenmue, but Shenmue's like brilliant. Shenmue has like an amazing plot, and it's actually like, I think there's a different. I can't fully articulate this idea, but I think there's a difference between someone who hates their art form, so they want to, invert it, and someone who actually just really believes in their art form, so they take it to the furthest possible extent. I think an example of the latter category is someone like James Cameron, who he loves action movies so much, and he's not inverting them or subverting them. It's just like, oh, he's showing you all that you can do with that. Shenmue is the same way. It wasn't like, this wasn't made by some fucking asshole who hates video games like a lot of these games were and wants to, like, oh, what if you never actually played them? It was like, oh, I can really tell an incredible, long, detailed story and have it go to sort of the slow pace in the format of a game. But games like Hard Rain or like this asshole's blindness simulator, they're made by people who fundamentally do not enjoy games and don't understand why they're fun.
So this guy, I think, is just such a fucking grifter. He knew that this would look good on a crowdfund, and maybe also that it had some early like IDPol kind of disability like appeal to it.
Yes, that is very well okay. This is what it's like for blind people.
Yeah, but that's not what it's like for blind people. But blind people don't see. They don't grapple. They don't gamify not seeing. That's not how it works. Anyway, so it got some like woke press because of that. But of course, like it was apparently like not fun, so no one played it. But the interesting thing to me is that like when he was promoting it, he did the Silicon Valley thing where you have to tell a story because that's how you pitch your project. And some of these stories are better than others. Like Elizabeth Holmes' story, dog shit. She's like, I didn't like shots when I was little. It's like, no one did. That's not a story. Bitch, you suck at this.
I didn't mind shots.
I mean, like, yeah, but no one loved it.
I hated it.
I was fine with it.
Well, after shots,
I was just chain smoking, asking Dr. Pausek how he was doing. Like,
I would have a special lunch with my mom after shots. Maybe that was the part I enjoyed.
Well, see, there you go. I got no goddamn lunch of any kind.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
my mom like lunch.
I also got the post-doctor treat system, which I would like to repeat in my own parenting. But he said that he was inspired for this game, which a term I'm using loosely, by an incident in high school when he mixed like red phosphorus with something else and caused an explosion and blinded himself for a while. and the way he described it, he's like, I just woke up in the hospital full of drugs and everything, and like I saw nothing, and it's like, okay. First of all, what high school gives kids a chemistry set that they could blind themselves with? Second of all, I got better. Like, he said his corneas grew back.
Happened.
Damn.
No, it definitely happened.
He's Wolverine.
I'm assuming that there are tons of people who can confirm this story for him, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. 100%. So needless to say, I'm skeptical, especially because like when he talks about when his story for the, zombie blood and like one of them also looks like little hearts, like health hearts. You drink the little health heart. The story he said for that was like, he started out by saying like, we were working 16-hour shifts in robotics and we're like, how are we going to stay awake? And then later he said, well, we were playing a lot of World of Warcraft. So like those are two different reasons. Yeah, and all these people are pathological liars. So yeah. So that's the young buck behind it. The big money, the angel investor is this guy, David Rogier, and he's one of these freak tech prodigies that's like sold his first company in junior high school. Like it was like a search engine. He did logistics for Tesco for years.
Boy.
Yeah.
God, this was
Bloody brilliant.
This is someone taunting us.
Also, like logistics during this period, Tesco was like noted for just really cracking down on workers' rights. And what logistics is, a lot of times, is like the mathematics of efficiency. Like, and the way he describes it in his like LinkedIn is like, I helped more food get to low income neighborhoods. It's like, no, you figured out how to work on a skeleton crew and pay people the least amount of money and make a profit. That's what logistics is. So
often when anyone has like a boring sounding corporate job at a retail chain, it's like, how do I get inside the brainstem of the lowest paid employees to get them in trouble? Yeah, totally. So, after doing that for a while, he went to Stanford Business School and studied under this guy, Michael Deering, who came up with something that might be, considered the predecessor to Masterclass called a Harris Medal. So it is another kind of online class thing, but it's tech-centered and for, let's say, non-traditional students. So there's things like the Great Job Meditation, which is a guided meditation on capitalism, civilization, and your role in it. Chris, I will send you a clip of this so you can play part of it.
Now, in that happy location, there's also a large TV screen. It's showing some people at work. You can see them talking to each other. They're in a room with paper all over the table, Post-it notes, and writing on a whiteboard. These are your competitors, and they seem very sad and upset. You listen, and you can hear them talking about you and your team. They're panicked by your creative product line and your beautiful prices. They're shaken to the core by your high gross margins. They don't know how they will compete against you for talent, for customers, or even for the air they breathe. In a small window in the upper right corner of the screen, you see a text message has come in for you. It's from Adam Smith himself. And it says, "Great job."
There's also educational things like the cognitive distortions of founders. One is the Drake equation, an accidental gift to business leaders. Do you know what the Drake equation is?
How young a girl is when you can start texting her, "Oh, you're so small."
Nice. Actually, the Drake equation is a thing. It's an equation that they tried to use very early on to figure out what is the likelihood of life existing in other planets. So my favorite class offered by this freak that that David Rogier is standard under is called, and I swear to God this is true, Harriet Tubman, Hero of Capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Queen. So it calls itself a business school, but it's kind of the University of Phoenix of tech stuff. And it's an incubator. So like people go in and they pitch, and this guy uses his angel funding to decide which people's ideas he's going to invest in and make money off of. So the school is, it's a weird new form of exploitation. These incubators are really interesting.
So it's like, this is just like a private equity fund with a tax break, right? Like with a bigger tax break than even those get. Because they can pretend like it's a fucking school.
I think that's the reason for calling it a school. Because I don't even think we even have like the legal framework for something like an incubator at this point. Because essentially like it's kind of intellectual serfdom. It's like you can stay here, you can work the land. Also, I get to take all of your ideas and do things with them. So this is who David Rogier studied under. So the Capri Sun zombie blood guy goes to David Rogier and says, "Hey, I got this idea. What if we just paid a bunch of really famous people to, give motivational speeches or whatever?" So it comes from like a shit ton of money. I mean, like this guy.
Oh, I could tell. Yeah, like looking at the production of these, I could see every pore on Aaron. Well, Aaron Sorkin and everyone else, they look like if they were rendered in Final Fantasy because it's very detailed, but they're smoother than they are in real life.
Yeah, no, it's a little too soft.
Yeah.
It's a little too smooth. We've been dealing a lot with the theme of smoothness here on Chapo, and I think it's worth exploration.
No, well, that is, if I could pick one word to describe our current culture, it would be smooth. That is, during my viewing of network TV shows, it's like, what is the common theme in all these? Smoothness. What is everything now? It is like one big, long, shiny turd that exits your ass, and you don't wipe, and you walk around the rest of the day with a little shit in your asshole. But you don't even remember crapping that out. Nothing from everything from this very ephemeral moment of culture has any friction or edges to it. It's meant to just pass through you.
I also kind of think maybe aesthetically, at least in cinema, it might be a reaction to the over-gritification of movies there for a while. Like that started with Dark Knight, where they were just like, it's gritty, and they're like, okay, this is good, but grittier is better. Like they're just like, if this is good, then why don't we just like actually put mildew on the film?
Yeah.
And then Marvel showed up and said, "Hey, how about smooth instead?" And people were like, "Yeah, let's try some smooth."
And that's like when it's taken to its furthest extent. Like that's why the Warcraft movie depressed me so much, because it was like,
wow, that was
the smoothest thing I've ever seen.
One of the smoothest things I've ever seen.
Zero characteristics. Zero.
Yeah,
it was like a Facetune movie. Yeah.
Cinematic Olestra.
Yeah.
So out of those two great minds, with I guess, by the way, massive freak, Michael Deering, look him up. With I guess him as sort of the intellectual godfather of it, they come up with Masterclass, where they pay a lot of very impressive people to say a bunch of bullshit, some of which might be good advice here and there, but like that's not how you learn to write. You learn to write by writing and reading and discussing writing with other people who write. You can't stream being a writer. It doesn't work. And they chose to have Aaron Sorkin be their screenwriting quote unquote teacher. Now they did this, or this one went live June 19th, 2016. So I'm guessing they wanted to sort of like capitalize off the Obama nostalgia and off of the kind of West Wing nostalgia. Plus, I bet it's very easy to shoot with Sorkin because he finishes everything in one day, if that. So I am not like a Sorkinist. I've had to watch The Newsroom and episodes of The West Wing for this show, but I'm certainly not a completist, and I haven't watched that much of it. But you figure out the Sorkin world almost immediately, just jumping in. Like, first it's confusing because there's like a lot of characters and you're like, what's going on? But like very quickly, all of the tropes become immediately obvious to you. And everything that you guys have been joking about like perpetually suddenly makes sense. Also, we have a friend who insists it is a good show, which I dispute, but based only on what I have seen. So I think the first thing is that the intro that he does, which is like a 2-minute like bumper thing, where he goes, damn it. And he's like, says some sentence. He's like, okay, first rule of screenwriting. No one ever starts a sentence with damn it. Which is one, untrue, and two, literally who cares? Because like, I love stylized dialogue. My problem with like Sorkin's dialogue isn't that it's stylized. I love like the Charles Portis inflected dialogue of a Coen Brothers movie, and no one talks like that either. But the disturbing thing that I realized in watching this is that Aaron Sorkin thinks that people talk like Aaron Sorkin characters. He walks around every day, and when he orders his coffee or picks up his dry cleaning, what he hears in his head is Aaron Sorkin dialogue. And that must be a terrifying way to live. Like being stuck, you know those people who did too much acid and they're just stuck in it forever?
Yes.
That's him. That's his life.
Yeah, whenever he cracks his back, like there's a little like in his spine, it releases just like a fucking typhoon of walk and talk dialogue, and he thinks he's there. He thinks he's in the White House. I like it. So yeah, when I was watching it, and it shows like they pay for the rights to this to like use old Aaron Sorkin bullshit. And it's like when I was watching it, I was like, what is, because having now watched a ton of modern network TV, I'm like, well, I can't argue that a lot of these Sorkin shows are way better than these. They're way better than fucking This Is Us or Council of Dads or a million little things. But it's like, because they're a trick. They have a trick. Like Sorkin dialogue has like a rhythm. It's like a play. It's not. I thought he knew that these aren't realistic how people talk. He doesn't know that. Like when I was watching it, I was like, well, I don't like what Sorkin does, but it's like clever and it digests easily because it has this false rhythm that people's actual fucking speech does not have. But this psychopath thinks that like when Obama would have conversations, it was like this.
Yeah, which must be a terrifying way to live. Honest to God, again, I'm only halfway through this thing, but I'm coming out of it with a great deal of pity for Aaron Sorkin, who apparently lives in a hell world where everyone is walking and talking all the time. That poor guy. And okay, so like full disclosure, I am not a medical doctor, obviously, just as a disclaimer, nor am I a counselor of any kind. But Aaron Sorkin in person is, shall we say, a bit high energy.
Yes.
A bit frenetic.
Yeah, he says in the first episode, like the prelude, he's like, I apologize in advance.
Yes.
I prefer communicating by
paper.
By
He's
text.
like, I'd rather put it on the paper.
And I relate to that. I would rather, I mean, me personally, I'd rather be posting. Like I don't consider myself an amazing speaker. My medium is posting.
Right.
Mr. Sorkin.
And this is the weird thing too, because like, you know, for like the podcast, like I'm a writer and you're a poster and you know, Matt and Will are great extemporaneous speakers, but we just sort of like ramble until we say something funny. But it is a separate thing. And I kind of had this weird crisis when I heard him say that, because he's like, just so you know, I never go in a straight line. And he does, he has a very rhizomatic thought process where he zips around, and I was just like, oh shit, that's me. Oh shit. And because that is totally me. That is you too. And then I was like, and he's like, I'm better on paper. And I'm like, oh shit, what if this means that I'm not actually a good writer either? I'm just a better writer than I am a speaker, and I'm a dog shit speaker. So it's just a comparison thing. So I had like a little bit of an artistic crisis listening to him. Also, though, I don't want to get sued.
Okay, I know what you're going to say, I think.
Sorkin has talked about his relationship to cocaine before.
Oh, yeah, he got busted in on an airplane.
Yeah.
Or in an airport.
When was that?
That was like during the West Wing.
Well, he says he's clean now. Who am I to argue with that?
I will say this, I don't want to accuse him of anything. I mean,
we don't want to get sued.
Have a Zoom deposition now, but he seems like he's taking gamer fuel.
He's on some gamer
He
fuel.
took some G fuel before this.
Something. He's sucking down that zombie blood juice or something. He has. He's very frenetic and he zips around a lot. And to some degree, I think that's just him. And like, to some degree, I understand that, because I think Felix is the same way. Our brains kind of wander around for no reason and end up in weird places. But also, he thinks that he's like really good at writing, and he thinks being bad at speaking makes him good at writing, which is upsetting and sad.
Okay, I think I'm going to say something very qualified. I think that for the current medium of TV, Sorkin is like probably on the higher tier of TV, right? Like
certainly,
he's better than Ken Olin, and Ken
no
Olin,
question.
Yeah, way fucking better than that fucking piece of shit little demon. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's like great writing.
Right. So here's the thing that I actually liked about Sorkin and made me sort of feel bad for him because, first of all, he clearly lives in a hell world of permanent cocaine brain.
Yes.
But he actually does have a pretty coherent writing philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's thought about it. I don't agree with it at all, but it's there, and he has like worked out like a system, and I think it's kind of bloodless and ridiculous and inhuman, but he definitely has an idea of the way you create a world. Now, the people in that world he's not so interested in. But I also like the speed thing. I couldn't figure out like the speed thing and like why he is obsessed with speed and the rapidity of this stuff. And it, not just for chemical reasons, but I figured it out. It's backmasking because it's literal Satan. You know how like when you would play like the theory was that if you played like a Judas Priest record backwards, it would tell you to kill your parents.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you play Aaron Sorkin at normal speed, it tells you to make the earth uninhabitable to every generation that comes after you. So it's kind of a reverse move for it. Like, that's my theory, is that there's all hidden liberal death cult shit in his speed. But okay, yeah, again, I don't agree with his writing philosophy, which I believe is hiding an evil satanic message. But he definitely has one, and it's really weird to watch him describe it.
Amber, did you notice one of the scenes from West Wing they used was one of our least favorite things in the show, and it was when, God damn, what the fuck did they name this piece of shit character? Like Ainsley Everhart or some idiotic crap.
Anus.
Anus Pixockerton or whatever. She's a Republican babe who owns Sam Seaborn on cable news, and they're like, you need to work for the White House so we can have a team of rivals. And that scene is like very demonic. That's a very like the thrust of that scene is super demonic because it's like, for what purpose would you have that person there other than to think of more creative ways to institute austerity? Right. That's
totally.
it.
Yeah. And he brings these people on, and the entire, like, he sort of tries to do a comedy thing with it, where he's like, she's saying she thinks she's going to get dressed down, but actually the guy's trying to offer her a job, and then she's like, wait, what? You're offering me a job?
What?
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like, why would you be, if you were a Republican,
why would you be
invited to a Democratic White House to get yelled at?
And if you thought that, why would you come?
Be scared of that?
Yeah. No, it's like, do you think
like you're not my boss? Fuck you.
Yeah, like what? Like that the Democrat would just call Republican like TV commentators in to be like, you have to be less mean to the people we send on TV.
Right.
Well,
and the idea is that she respects the office so much.
Yes. Yeah. She respects the White House so much that being yelled at by the president, even though he's a dirty, baby-eating liberal, would still be horrible, which, of course, we know. No, of course not. You'd be like, fuck that guy. I'll go do a citizen's arrest on him for eating adrenochrome.
Yeah, no conservative, like if Obama invited them to the White House or like if Hillary didn't want, they wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I would be honored to face the president.
Well, I hope
be
you
like,
don't yell at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is that the most unrealistic part about that is that she's a Republican and would put up with that because like fucking like certain Democrats would just pucker the fuck up. For anyone but Trump, they would pucker the fuck up.
Yeah, if President Marco Rubio invited like, God, I guess
Rachel Maddow,
yeah, one of those freaks to the White House, they would be like, sir, it is my honor to be in this office.
Absolutely.
And get
100%.
yelled at and be like, we had a discussion. But no, it was insane. And I actually do, the coded messages of the West Wing, I do think it is a demonic message because it's like, you're sacrificing the poor people at the altar of like intellectual curiosity. If this, I mean, we've seen what happens when Democrats bring conservatives into the White House over, what they say.
It's tax breaks for Latino business owners.
Yeah.
Like those weird, like pet projects.
More creative ways of booting people off of the already thin social safety net. And it's so people like this can feel good that they're working on some grand project, and that grand project is just eliminating the idea of ideology.
Right.
There's no disagreement.
Right. So, like, eliminating the very idea of politics, flattening it down to a negotiation, something to be mediated between power brokers. And,
Yes.
like, the weird thing is that, like, I was hoping that he would, like, sort of, I mean, like, that's the most interesting thing is that you want him to discuss characters because he clearly doesn't understand what people are. And so, like, you're wading through his kind of pathologically digressive speaking patterns. So, okay, that is like the first module or whatever. The first module is intentions and obstacles, which is the entire basis for the plot for him, which is completely insane. And it makes sense why he has like the snappy dialogue thing. So like if he's talking, he brings up the example of a road trip. And he's like, it can't just be a leisurely drive. He's like, you're going from New York to LA. Why are you going from New York to LA? Well, it can't just be because you want to see friends. It's like, can't just be because you want to go to like Dodger Stadium because you've wanted to see it your whole life. That's not interesting. It has to be something urgent. Everything for him has to be massive and urgent and grandiose, which is insane because I think of like the last two maybe road trip films I saw and they were like Nebraska and maybe the Crystal Ferry where just there's no stakes. There's none. The whole movie is about just the trip and things that happen on the trip. That world cannot exist to Sorkin, which is why he has to keep writing about grander and grander people, which is why he has to write about the President of the United States or like Mark Zuckerberg or something. If he weren't Jewish, he would have written a passion play by now. He has to write about the biggest guy doing the biggest thing in the world because those are the only stories that exist to him. And he's really clear about that.
Because, as you said, he has no interest in characters, really, which means that since if you don't have stakes in a conversation, then you are the only other thing you can have is characters. Since he has no interest in the characters, since they all just sound like him, then it has to be what they're talking about that gives it like meaning. Because the characters themselves will never be able to impart meaning.
I will say, so this part, I sort of made a mental note of it, and it's advice that I think is, it's weird. It's like a, what's that shit called where ducks' feathers are a different color depending on what angle you look at them? Like polychromatic.
I was going to say iridescent, but whatever. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, people get the idea.
Like a hologram sticker.
Right. It's like to someone who knows how to write, it's bad advice because when I think about like my favorite pieces of fiction, like a lot of them, there are periods during which nothing happens, there are no stakes, but it's just very interesting looks at characters.
Now Scarred.
Like, Now Scarred.
Yes.
How many Sopranos episodes are there where just like nothing really happens, but it's just interesting to see these characters interact with each other. But I thought it was good advice for the people that are earnestly watching this because they are the people who are like, me and my friends are so interesting. I want to make a show about our apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, I mean,
That's
for
true.
those
It's
people.
like maybe, you probably need to care more about, stakes and story structure than about your quirky cast of characters that are just like your fellow assholes.
Yeah, think the people that earnestly are watching this, they're like, I have a great idea for a show. It's about me and my friends when we were right out of college. It was a really crazy situation because one of us went to Duke, but the rest of us went to Vanderbilt.
It's kind of a fish out of water thing.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, he's obsessed with stakes. He's obsessed with like urgency and things like that. And he's like, well, no one's going to care about this. And again, you're right. That is correct for the people who are probably watching this. But like, I kept trying to think about like the lowest stakes movie I thought where I got like really involved. And the thing that came up was like a documentary, which was King of Kong. And it was a guy entering the Donkey Kong Championship, a video game that I hate and avoid at every pizzeria that has all the classic consoles. I'm more of a Ghouls and Goblins girl. And like, I don't care about the game. But you watch it and by the end of it, you're like, God, I want him to win the Donkey Kong Championship so fucking bad.
That fucking asshole Billy Mitchell.
I hate him.
Dies.
I hate him so much. And like, that's why it's a good movie is because you actually do care about something with which there are no stakes because it becomes important to you. Or really any sports movie about any sport you don't give a shit about. I love sports movies and I literally only like one sport. The entire premise of like Happy Gilmore is like a guy who hates golf who suddenly has to care about golf. And it's a goofy Sandler comedy, but like that is a great writing premise. It's like now you have to
Yes.
care about the old man fart sport. And it's really funny. And Bob Barker's in it. And that would never occur to someone like Sorkin because he's like, no, it has to be about like, where's the nuclear bomb?
Yeah. Like I watched his directorial debut, Molly's Game, which is actually a really crackling film, and it's an interesting true story about a woman who opened a poker tournament, like an illegal poker room in L.A. and New York, and then got caught, and like her life, and it's got a good plot, and it's pretty decent, but at every point, Sorkin just has to lard on top like the stakes of what's happening in front of him. Because he has no confidence in his characters holding any attention.
Because he doesn't like people and he doesn't understand how other people would like people and he can't write people.
Yeah, people are obstacles to what he wants.
This is what I said in the chat. To Aaron Sorkin, characters are obstacles to the story.
Yes.
Yes. That is a great observation, like why the only people he wants to write about now are presidents and like famous journalists, because it's like he is the perfect like liberal great man history buff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He
That's
would absolutely like just love to make a movie about Jesus.
Oh
Like,
my God.
He wants to where does he have to go from here
I mean,
after
he
the leader of the
basically
free
did
world?
with that Steve Jobs movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't that basically him being crucified by a bunch of a pack of dullards who don't have his vision?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that he's an antisocial liberal. He thinks people are dull and stupid and uninteresting.
Yes. No, he absolutely does.
Two things on that. It is funny that given the spate of God TV shows right now, you have, of course, The Good Place, God Friended Me, that show with Daniel Radcliffe where they're like angels. It is funny that he hasn't done like a workplace drama set in heaven where it's like
Oh my God.
St. Peter and Mary doing like bants back and forth about how they're going to enact God's will on earth or whatever.
Well,
They're all
I have
walking
To
and
choose
talking.
who gets into heaven, and it's basically like college acceptance week, and they're like, okay, Galileo, what do we do with it?
And then the other thing is, talking back to my last point, this Masterclass is such a perfect match for him because the plot is just a series of things to be solved to a Sorkin story. It's just like there's a crisis or an obstacle, and the characters' actions aren't stemming from their like essential wants or desires. They are being forced through this mechanism in which you solve a plot.
Well, what's weird about this, like if we're going to get into the theology of Sorkin, he is Jewish, but his vision of the world is very Protestant. Protestants are the biggest like great man people. Like I was thinking like how cursed a Sorkin production of if he did the story of David would be, because that story is antithetical to the Sorkin or American Protestant vision of the world and vision of great actors in the world. The story of David.
Okay, but can we write that? Can we write the
can.
Sorkin version of David?
Yeah, it would be hilarious because the point of 2 Samuel is that, and the story of David is that David's an awful guy, but that God is so powerful that he can channel his will and his actions through this awful guy whose one redeeming trait is his unwavering faith in God. David is terrible. He sucks as a guy.
But he loves the damn news. I mean, he loves God.
yeah. I mean, but like that's the thing. Like all David's interactions and like interpersonal actions are like, wow, he's an awful guy. But all Jeff newsrooms are like, wow, he'll go out of his way for anyone. Like Protestants love, like, I don't know if this comes from like German forest fables or whatever the fuck, but like they love their little fables about their great men. They love the cherry tree and I cannot tell a lie or whatever bullshit about like John D. Rockefeller saving a penny every day. They love it. They love it.
Yeah. Like Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah.
Just middle European bohunks. Just like imagining very tall men chopping trees down with their blue ox friends.
This is a real hot one I'm coming in with, but the most Jewish movie made in the last 30 years, Gattaca.
Go on.
Gattaca, it is the story. It is 2 Samuel. It's like, no, this guy like sacrifices every interpersonal relationship, but because he has this unwavering faith in the heavens, in getting to the heavens, he achieves it, but at what cost? That's the Tanakh.
There's something
Very good.
there.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is that he says that if an obstacle is easy to solve by a rational person, you have to, quote, plug it up, which immediately brought me back to like that scene from Carrie. But like, but he's like, if the obstacle could, if it has a quick and easy fix, it's not interesting, which means that he hates self-sabotage. So he hates like he would hate Uncut Gems because at any point, Howard could have asked for help and said, I'm in trouble, and borrowed money from his family and fixed it. But the whole thing is that he is his own obstacle because he has this vision of the kind of man he wants to be. He has like this, perpetual growth sense of himself as a businessman. He literally, his obstacle could have been solved with humility, but he can't do it. So like for Sorkin, the idea that you might be your own obstacle would never work because he doesn't understand, he doesn't like people who self-sabotage, which is a fundamental state of human nature.
Well, that's the thing, though. He doesn't think that. He thinks that humans are perfectible, and he thinks that he is on that totem pole above many others.
Well, and when they have flaws, it's like that they were an
flawed
alcoholic.
People are lesser. They're lesser people. They're less interesting. They're less virtuous. He doesn't want to write about them. They're bad guys. They can't be his protagonists.
Well, one of the other scenes I picked for the West Wing, it's the awful scene that we now realize that Sorkin thinks is a realistic dialogue, where Bartlett and Toby are in the Oval Office. And Toby's like, your problem, Mr. President, is that you're too smart. And you feel bad.
Oh, God,
Yes,
so
yes. The whole thing.
You're
and
too
that's,
smart.
Yes. That is what, like, Sorkin, that's the kind of flaw that, like, Sorkin likes to give his characters, is that they're too damn smart. Or they just love the news too damn much.
Yeah.
The drill post that defines Sorkin is the one where it's the therapist telling the guy, everyone hates you because you're smart and you're perfect and you do perfect posts and you're rightfully upset. And he says, I agree. That's his entire thing.
That's an entire and like during that scene, Toby is like, and then Mr. President, your father saw that not only could you read the entire encyclopedia, but your penis was bigger than his. So he hit you.
So
and
he
Bartlett
beat
is
you.
like, go the damn hell away from my office.
How many scenes in Sorkin is a secondary character convincing the protagonist how good they are?
And that's
how
the conflict,
amazing
and
they
that's
are.
what they're fighting about. No, I'm not that good. Yes, you are that good.
Exactly. It's like, recognize how goddamn brilliant you are, motherfucker.
Because that's like, it's like the same thing as someone who wants to kill themselves just to see how people would react. It's like, that's what he wants to happen to him. People be like, well, like, do you remember my favorite scene in Newsroom? Of course, after when Sam Waterston just drops dead like a Looney Tune and they
bang.
The scenes where Jeff Newsroom is in jail with a ghost of his father.
The ghost of his father, who he didn't know was his father, or he might have. They never explained it.
Yeah, and the dad ghost is like, you know what your problem is? You're so damn smart that you're fucking gay. I mean, you have sex with a lot of famous actresses. You fucking gay ass pussy.
They did that with Toby too. He said like there's two types of people, good people and heterosexuals or whatever. And like or it was like intelligent or masculine or whatever. And it's like, oh wow, like Sorkin's daddy issues are like way up there. I mean, all of us, of course, but like I'd like to think we have a little more art with ours.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he's obsessed with like strong male characters who were beaten by their dads, and it's like, did that happen to? I'm sorry. I don't think it happened to him.
I don't know. I can't figure him out. He's so opaque as like a person.
Yeah, he's got a weird fucking thing growing. Well, he grew up like very upper middle class. That's typically not a thing that happens to us that often, that we get beat by our dads. Did not happen to me.
You know what? Maybe he's one of those people who was ignored by his dad, and so he fantasized about having been beaten by his dad.
That's a common upper middle class thing. That's a very common upper middle class
It's a thing.
Is like you have a
Better
poor
to be
friend,
abused than ignored.
Yeah, you have a poor friend who's like, yeah, my dad fucking put cigarettes out my eyes, and you're like, God, I wish I could be.
Yeah, that's it. Like, just to not be ignored.
Yeah.
Like any attention is better than no attention.
Yeah, it should grass is always greener, right?
But it's so weird because like he should like people with actual. I mean, like again with the whole like, oh, if they have a problem, that's easily solved, just plug it up because it's not interesting. Like that doesn't make any sense at all, and he should know that as a former cocaine addict. Like, obviously, he knew that this is what, and he writes about alcoholics, too. It's like, well, the solution is actually very uncomplicated. Stop drinking. Stop doing coke. But it's hard. There's a difference between uncomplicated and easy. And he does not get the difference, which he should as a former cokehead. Yeah, because he's a machine.
Absolutely. Well, do you think he's like he's putting things into the fly machine where it's like, he's remembering all the people who are like, Aaron, you have to stop doing cocaine, and replacing it with like, Aaron, you're too smart.
Well, that's what that's what they sound like when you're on cocaine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. Like the cocaine is like his smart fuel. It allows
his
him to
go-go
be
juice.
productive and think even faster. It's his go-go juice. It's his gamer fuel. And so if you're telling him don't take it, you're telling him not to be smart as he could be.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Okay, I'm trying to read my own notes here, which I did not write on cocaine. I just have bad handwriting.
You handwrite your notes? That's
I
horrible.
do. Yeah, I don't. I try not to look at screens.
That makes
all the
sense.
time. Yeah,
I have the UV blocking glasses.
I should probably do that. But
be on
also, I'm
screens.
starting. I bought a beanbag because I'm starting to get back pain from being hunched over.
Can I send you the gamer chair I bought? It's like been amazing for my back.
Send me a link at least, and definitely send
Yeah.
me a link to the microphone because I'm pretty sure my microphone is a tin can with a string on it.
I got some purchases for you.
Yeah. So the weird thing is that he is like very smart at times, and you can tell at one point he used to be like kind of moving to becoming a better writer. He has like every once in a while good advice where he says like, you know, if what you want to write about is an incident or a series of incidents, it's probably more of a, you know, it's probably more of a series. Or if like when he says, like the stuff about like learn to adapt something first, like get a story you like and adapt it. Like to actually do the technical work of writing, like open up like Final Draft and start fucking learning how to do that shit. But nothing makes any sense. He loves William Goldman, which is like a great like screenwriter, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and like The Princess Bride, like really great scripts, like funny, like a funny comedy, and like a, you know, one of the great romantic cowboy movies. And how do you get from like really liking like William Goldman to doing like walk and talk things and not liking characters or people or anything?
I think you just admire like the snappiness, and you just say, "I want to do that, but more and faster."
Yeah,
He's in love with the rhythm. He's like in the
Yes, it's the rhythm exactly.
it's the rhythm of the night.
He's everyone considers Aaron Sorkin a reggae style of writer.
So, by the way, Module 3 is really great because he starts in on story ideas, and he says the most cocaine brain thing I've ever heard in my life. And I wrote it down just word for word so I can quote it. There are two parts to having an idea. You have to know what an idea is, and then you have to have one.
Damn.
God damn, my man said I invented thinking too.
Double thinking.
And then he goes on to say something that's so sympathetic that, again, I start to feel bad for him, where he says he wishes he had a second shot at everything he's ever done, which means he regrets his entire career.
Ooh,
That's perfect. That one of his shows is about him looking back on news that he experienced and then redoing it with his commentary on it.
God, he's a man who lives in
always
regret.
racked with the idea that he could have done a better job. He
He's
could have
gonna
been more
do-
clever. He
Oh.
could have been more frictionless in the moment.
he's gonna do Citizen Cocaine.
Ah,
Nice.
perfect.
I mean, like,
Still got it.
it kind of like lets me, like, it allowed me to have like this, like, very like pitiable affection for him because, like, he clearly doesn't like anything he does at all.
No,
I think understands that as like kind of a pathologically discursive person, which I am, which Felix is, like he's not actually very good at communicating a lot of the time, which is like why teach a class then? That's like a separate skill than writing. Like just because you could do something doesn't mean you can teach people to do things. Like, did you guys ever hear about this very famous Marlon Brando acting technique?
Yes. No, it's a perfect example of this.
Right. Marlon Brando, genius. Fucking amazing actor. But like quite a few actors, total idiot and doesn't know why he's a good actor.
Yes.
He changed acting. Like literally before Brando, everything was like, we're gonna go down, we're gonna go to the soda shop. Like everyone talked in that fucking weird 50s way. And
Yeah, that's mister.
Yeah, Brando was the first guy to be like, what the fuck? No one sounds like that.
Yeah.
And he changed it forever.
Yeah,
but
they sound
also
like big fat marble mouthed oafs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, buffoon.
Total
of a man.
buffoon. Total buffoon. When you look at like Stanley Kowalski or like a character like that, which is like it does, you know, he's an abusive asshole that you also want to have sex with. Like, it's a very complicated and like layered character. I mean, partially because he looks like Marlon Brando at his prime, but it's like this very layered character. Marlon Brando couldn't tell you why he did what he did, but he just did it, and he's really, really good at it.
It's the same thing. Like this is Louis C.K. before he like did the material that was like, my daughter's a stupid cunt and I love her.
Yeah,
he had this observation on Opie and Anthony that I thought was like, it stayed
I love
with
Louis
me.
on O&A.
They were those were the fucking, those were so
with
fucking
Patrice,
good.
yeah.
God damn,
I know.
I wish I was 16 again playing Counter-Strike and listening to those. But he said like that he was getting into sports, and he said this thing that like it was hard for him because he loved sports, because he loved watching the story of these amazing, like brave people doing these incredible superhuman actions that were absolutely brilliant in and of the moment. But then when they would ask them to talk about them or ask them to describe it, they'd just be like, sometimes you have to work really hard to get the touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the same shit.
Yeah. Sorkin also says he wishes he was still a playwright, and I kind of wonder if like he hadn't have been given free rein to write about the biggest things in the world and have like grandiose like cocaine ambitions, if maybe his writing would have like shaped up.
Yeah, he got successful too early, and he was able to just indulge himself, and he kind of, I think, lost probably any rigor that he had and perspective.
Oh, he briefly returned to playwriting for a rewrite of To Kill a Mockingbird, which I saw on Broadway.
That's right.
Yes.
And I did a whole episode of Joel and Dave Anthony's West Wing thing.
Which I will be doing after this. This is part of my research. We're doing a crossover, folks.
And so I saw that. And the thing about it is two things. It's like I think he wanted to do it because he took the play that was most already like a Sorkin thing and wanted to be like, now how can I Sorkin this up by just making the dialogue more snappy and stuff?
Condensed Sorkin.
Well, and Catherine Liu writes about this in like To Kill a Mockingbird, whatever. I loved the book as a child, but like when you grow up and read it, you're like, oh, this is Cold War propaganda about how there are good poor people and bad poor people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some people don't. There is a deserving poor and an undeserving poor, and also lawyers and technocrats are what is going to solve these problems. Those are the heroes.
Would it surprise you to learn that Sorkin's take on it is that Atticus Finch is basically a god who solved racism through owning people with facts and logic?
Yes, there you go.
But everybody else was too stupid because they were poor
Too damn
Right.
poor and stupid to pay attention.
to take the key that he handed them to solving racism and unlock the door. And so he has to go back to toiling in passionate ignominy.
Yes, and it's the dirty poor people, the dirty poor white people who are racist, and the educated like liberal white people who are the only bulwark against these filthy unwashed mashes that just want their job back at the racism factory.
That's definitely true in the South. It's not like there's a tradition of literal aristocratic slave owners and fucking dying.
Well, that's why they cut out originally the whole book, because that second book that they came out with in her a couple of years ago, Go Tell a Watchman, where Scout goes back in the 60s and Atticus is a bitter old racist. That actually, like, that's
more
levens it,
realistic.
makes
He's
it
a
more
Southern
interesting.
lawyer.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, he's a perfect angel man.
Yes. But yeah, okay. So like he gets to the point where he's talking about Sports Center, which is a show that I've, or Sports Night, because he was addicted to Sports Center. And the sentence.
You love the banter.
The sentence he said, I wrote down this as a quote. He said, I was watching a ton of it, and I thought, I bet working at Sports Center would be fun, that you could meet some friends and get a girlfriend there. And I was like, oh, I'm so sad. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, poor sweetie.
Well,
I'm so sorry your father didn't pay attention to you. I wish he did meet you.
Boy. This is very uncomfortable for me because these are all thoughts I had when I was like 15. This is very uncomfortable.
Thank God you found the internet and opening it.
Holy shit. Thank God for... No, these are all just like upper middle class, like youngest child thoughts.
It's...
Holy fuck.
Also, this would have been in the 90s, and like there are a lot more like sports journalists and sportscasters now that are women. But how many women? Like, what girlfriend? There was like what? Like one blonde? Like
well, Sorkin loves that. Like the one like sassy like busty hot chick who hangs with the guys and can keep up with
there
them.
are like 3 of those on Sports Night. I'll have you know. Felicity
Yeah.
Huffman plays one of them.
Sorkin.
That's probably more than were on Sports Center at that time.
Well, they're behind the scenes.
Yeah,
They weren't in front of the
Right.
Yeah, he thinks that there's like just this like woman with the perfect like hip to tits ratio who can tell you all about the Red Sox, and she would appreciate his bookish but firecracker. Fuck this, dude.
He loves a dumb blonde Republican shiksa. That is his favorite woman in the world.
He wants to have like a snappy. He doesn't want to have sex with an Anglo-Saxon. He wants to have like a snappy. He wants to skip past the part where they have sex, but at the part where they're in bed and they're arguing. And he's like, "Well, you people seem to think that you have to take guns to every sporting event."
Yes.
You remember that he dated
at least we actually have sports. You would make everyone the winner. Like he wants that.
Yes.
You know, he dated Christian Chenoweth for years, right?
Yeah,
that is wild.
He was a Christian, and their relationship was the inspiration for the relationship between Sarah Paulson and Matthew Perry on Studio 60. He actually lived that out.
My God.
Like having a Christian girlfriend that he could argue with.
She's Southern, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's Southern as well.
Yeah, I would love to write my own movie about Aaron Sorkin having an unlikely romance with one of the women from Barstool's Chicks in the Office podcast. I think that would be fun. And like Sorkin and Dave Portnoy having like a tete-a-tete.
He loves that, though. The one girl, he loves, what's the female Smurf? Smurfette.
So
like,
fucking
that's
fire.
his,
She usually has a male name, as we've discussed.
That's his attitude towards, oh, yeah, you're right, male names. He loves male names. Yeah, CJ and stuff. Yeah, no, that's what he wants, is he wants the Smurfette. He's like, and then there will be a girl, and she will be my girlfriend.
Aaron Sorkin, if Aaron Sorkin like performs some amazing deeds and is allowed, like, if the Jews get together and we change shul to be more like Protestant heaven, Sorkin will be greeted in heaven by a 70-foot tall Anglo-Saxon woman like Taylor Swift, who will like just pick him up and yell at him.
Yes, that is his heaven.
Yeah. So he gets to his first feature, which he describes as something that happens when the characters, metaphorically speaking, die at the end. If he's not writing about them, they don't exist. Like, that's his whole attitude towards characters again.
That part where he said like a character is born at the age they live at, like that they are in your play. They're never 5 years old. They just come into the world at like 35. And I thought that was like insane.
What was the thing where he says, I don't have characters in my head? That's a quote. And he said, the tactics that the character uses to overcome that obstacle that's what the characters are going to be. That's a direct quote. Like, he has the most functionalist view of human beings that exist, which is weird because he wrote a fucking rom-com with...
Wait, which was his rom-com?
Let's see here. The American President.
Yeah.
With like Annette Bening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I loved it when he talked about American President because it's like it showed what a good-natured dope Robert Redford is.
I know.
Robert Redford was trying for a decade to make a movie about if the president was
a widow. Yeah, and he had 12 scripts. This is the worst story in the world, and like Sorkin doesn't get that it's both shameful for both him and Redford. He's like, he's been trying to make a movie about what if the president's wife was dead, which by the way has happened. Like,
yes, Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, he's like he's been trying to make a movie for like something ridiculous, 15 years, and he's got a stack of like 12 or 15 scripts, and then he just points at them, and he says to Aaron Sorkin, "Could you just like rewrite one of those so it's good?" And then they want to make a movie.
That is the fun. It's funny on so many levels. Like, Robert Redford, like, when he started desiring this, was probably like the hottest actor, like the guy, right?
Yeah.
Like Mr. A-list. And he's like,
just beautiful.
Yeah, and it's like, what's your dream project? You can do anything. And he's like, what if the president had to date? Fucking, what a good
What if though?
A good-natured, oafish idiot Chad, Robert Redford.
I know. Yeah, he's a benevolent Chad. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, like he's a bimbo. I'm trying to think of who we've pointed out these guys before that like
Jason Momoa.
Yes, Momoa. Like he should be a dick, but he's like the nicest fucking guy and still hangs out with his friends from high school.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like
that is like
that's Redford. Yeah.
It was just like, it's such a funny thing to want. When you can get anything, like anything. He probably like Redford probably could have played like he could have gotten like the Kubrick Napoleon movie made, and he was like, "No, I want the widow president movie," and everyone was just like, "No,
that's a bad idea."
Yeah, this sucks, dude.
Yes,
it does speak to their shared type of dopeness or mania, where your brain is just like, "Well, I want a thing about something I like." Redford's version, dating. But it has to be the most that thing.
Yeah.
What is the most dating that could happen? Well, if the president did it.
And he was a widow.
Yeah.
Well, if you had a president who dated, that wouldn't be sympathetic because he's this powerful guy. He could just take advantage of people. Make him sympathetic. His wife has died.
Yeah.
He's got to be a widow. It's the only way for it to work. Otherwise, he's a cad or
like a real president.
Yeah.
So Felix, did you, in watching this, get the impression that like Sorkin was trying to sort of ask for work? Like he was like, so I'd love to write a movie about an astronaut if someone would like to do that. Like,
how has he not written something about the space race?
Right, because he loves astronauts.
The highest possible stakes, and he loves that mid-century high modernist America when can-do men just got shit done because women weren't yapping in their damn faces all the time.
Yeah. Oh my God. I did. Yeah. Because it's like when I watch these, that's the thing. It's like I wonder. Like I was wondering a lot about the economics of this. Like how much do these guys get paid for this? Because a lot of the people in it are fantastically rich. Sorkin is an 8-figure baller. Gordon Ramsay, 8-figure baller. David Lynch, I don't know what he buys. Like probably like little cursed wooden trinkets.
Yeah.
Those can't cost that much. He doesn't have to do this.
Yeah.
So what is the other, like they probably get paid like a 7-figure amount for this, I would assume, right?
Oh yeah.
It has to be.
It has to be a huge amount of money.
But also they have to want something else. Like I think Sorkin correctly identifies that probably like a lot of money, Silicon Valley, like money guys who want to fund a movie watch idiotic shit like this.
It's weird that they haven't gotten into Hollywood yet. Because they don't like art. I forgot.
They hate art, but I think like Sorkin could be the perfect vehicle for them because he's not really making like it's something like he makes their vision of the world, the great man changing the tides of history.
Well, and he made The Social Network, and like he recognizes that those are titans of men, and they're such like assholes too that I think they don't get that this is like they're like 14-year-olds watching Scarface, being like, oh, this is a movie about how a guy is cool.
Well, I think they like the other part too, where it's like, wow, it's tragic how smart I am.
Yes, true. Like it's hell out there for someone as talented and wonderful as me. But the thing I kind of want to end on is that like one thing that really shocked me is that he really loves Tarantino.
He really talks Tarantino up in this.
He loves Tarantino genuinely in a way that he's not kissing ass or anything. I don't think he's capable of kissing ass. I think he's bad at most things socially, but it is kind of refreshing that like you realize, oh, all of his characters are abrasive and shitty because he doesn't know how to write someone who would be otherwise certainly not unctuous. But he talks about Tarantino and he says like, well, if you were like Tarantino, I'm guessing, I haven't asked him, but I think he was just born with a head full of great plot ideas.
Yes.
Which is insane because Quentin Tarantino very famously just totally recycles plots and themes from that's his whole thing. He's a pastiche, and I love Quentin Tarantino. But his whole thing is that he's a pastiche guy. He's literally a movie obsessive to the point where like people think that's some kind of a criticism. They're like, oh, he's just some guy that worked at a movie store. Like, yeah, what are you, a fucking snob? He's an autodidact who like voraciously consumed movies and does these amazing things with them. And like, that's the thing is that like, Tarantino loves movies. That's why he's good at making movies. And Sorkin thinks it's just because he's like a god that was like gifted with like, he just has these great ideas. He just has Kill Bill in his head. You know, like he was just born with Jackie Brown. Like, does Sorkin like movies anymore? Has he enjoyed a movie, do you think, in the past 20 years? He did at some point, you know, obviously.
I don't know. I think he kind of views all art forms as just vehicles for his expression. I don't think he takes them in like as a fan.
Yeah, he's not a fan. And that's the two things that like I kind of took away is that like he doesn't like characters and he doesn't understand how people how he produces what he like how people produce something other than he doesn't understand different creative techniques or whatever. He only understands like this weird set of I guess like strategies and formulas for television which are incredibly effective, which he perfected in a cocaine haze, which I hate and are awful, but are like very coherent and are definitely a thing. He doesn't understand that like some people make movies or write or whatever because they are obsessed with stories and characters and they like them so much that they want to make one of their own. Like it must have been years since he like saw something in a theater and got really fucking excited.
He probably just gets jealous when he sees things that are good.
Yeah.
It's not him.
Absolutely.
I think so, but it is weird that he likes Tarantino, someone who is like funny and absurdist, like it's essentially like uses pastiche in very referential, intentional ways. And it's like, you know that like comes from the fact that he's a movie obsessive and that he loves movies and characters and stories. And you just kind of really like the president and astronauts and the dang news.
That's probably why he started and wanted to go back to play the theater, because I bet he also, in the same way, doesn't really like theater, but it is the clearest vector from his words to people's brains.
Yeah.
There's one mediating force. An actor learns the words, and then they say
and
the
they
words.
Say them. You don't have to worry about
deal
anything
all
else.
this bullshit with like getting a film crew together to put like buy or locations or set up studios or anything.
He gets to play directly with the dolls. They're in his hands. Yeah.
By the way, I just want to ask, how's Jeff Daniels' Southern accent, Chris?
I would say an 8 on the Foghorn Leghorn scale.
Oh man, that sounds
cool.
Fun.
He's milking it.
Okay, so that's like the first half of the thing.
Oh, Jesus
I'm
Christ.
sorry, but like there's so much going on, and I'm fascinated. I'm now slightly a little bit like I kind of love Aaron Sorkin because he's this tragic.
It's inevitable.
He's this tragic figure who started out clearly he had some passion for this stuff, and he's just slowly lost his way and reduced writing to sort of like a completely soulless, inhuman, technocratic process. And now you can see the frustration in his face and hear it in his voice, but there's still little glimpses of a guy who at some point must have loved like the theater and movies and, you know, maybe even a person. It's just very sad. And now I'm obsessed with him as just like this hollowed out weirdo who doesn't have, there's no place for him in a post-Trump world, you know? He must be so lost. Was he on fucking Masterclass being like, just, you know, if anybody's interested, I'd like to write something about an astronaut. They're kind of like tough guys. Like, it's just clearly like, it's clearly he's just grappling around to do something grand again. But he fucking peaked because he started at the president too early.
Yeah. What are you going to do now? The Galactic Senate?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's
He's
sad.
like Aaron Sorkin's probably like pushing for one world government, like what the right wing conspiracy theorists of the 90s
Just
thought
give
was
me
happening.
a world president that I can write about, please.
Yeah, please.
I mean,
my God, Aaron Sorkin Warhammer 40K.
If he weren't such an Americanist, I mean, he could write like a great walk and talk about the EU.
Oh my God, Aaron Sorkin Xi Jinping movie.
Oh, amazing! Yes. Yeah, there are other options, but to him,
his rise through the ranks of the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh,
think of all the halls he would have had to walk down and talk during.
Okay, how about this?
To scheme his way to the top of the Chinese Communist Party.
Walk and talk single shot 3-day long movie of walking the entire Great Wall.
And they're just talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But what are the stakes? What are the stakes?
They need to increase iron ore exports from the Guangzhou province.
Yep.
So we need this iron ore? Okay, well, do we actually need it? Or does it sound like we aren't producing the required amount and everything's fine? No, I'm saying that we're going to need it for where we're going. Okay, where are we going? I can't tell you until we get the iron ore. Okay, well, there's your problem. And 3 days of that.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
The only thing I can imagine him doing now is some sort of a West Wing reboot where the president has to deal with coronavirus. But instead of the real world where Trump is dealing with it, it's a Sorkin president.
I think
played by Aaron Sorkin himself.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think a Sorkin thing about Trump would be good, like having those heavy Bartlett conversations, but
that would
about
be so
like
funny.
Graydon Carter and Nellie
Amazing.
Orr and like
amazing.
Like, Toby having a conversation with Trump where it's like, your father hated you because you knew that the Oscar party was no longer hot. Your father was jealous that you had the courage to call out bad food restaurants.
Oh, God.
Donald
you
Trump,
act like you're not the coolest guy in the room, but you know that you are.
Yeah, Donald Trump doing the Bartlett Cathedral scene, but he's yelling at Anna Wintour.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the first half of my deep dive of the psychoanalytic examination of the state of Aaron Sorkin via his masterclass.
A psychoanalysis of Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, God.
Absolute masterclass once again.
Absolute masterclass. All right. I guess that's that.
That's it on that. We spilled.
Yeah. All right. The tea was spilled.
We did
we'll
it,
do
sis.
another.
You are a good man, Josh.
Yes, I really am quite something.
I'm really quite something.
I'm really something.
I'm quite something.
He's really quite something.
It was really quite something.
A famous monk once said,
I don't always know the right thing to do, Lord.
but I think the fact that I want to please you
Pleases you.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Eyes front, mister.
Eyes front, mister.
Well, that was predictable.
That was predictable.
That was predictable.
Follow me. Come with me.
I don't think you're fit to handle the defense.
Though I do hate you and everything you stand for.
You don't even know me.
You've only known me for 4 minutes.
Ordinarily, it takes someone hours to discover I'm not fit to handle a defense.
Usually it takes people a better part of an hour to hate me and everything I stand for.
I'm the press secretary, boo-boo. I don't have that kind of time.
Well, that's why you're the press secretary, boo-boo.
Don't get cute with me.
Don't get cute with me.
Someday someone's going to have to explain to me the virtue of a proportional response.
What is the virtue of a proportional response?
Damn it!
Damn it! Just sign the damn thing!
Just sign the damn thing.
I wish I learned how to. I wish I was just a skateboarder in my career. hate this industry so much. Everyone in it is so bad. They look like shit. They're shit. Dog shit. Assholes. Skateboarders are moral.
Absolutely.
No skateboarders ever done anything wrong.
Yeah.
You're just fucking gleaming the cube. Sometimes they solve murders. Remember that movie?
Skateboard culture also generated one of the greatest, probably the greatest piece of comedy of the 21st century, Jackass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You enjoy if you enjoy Jackass, that's right. You enjoy skateboarding.
Dude, you know what's an awesome
Tony Hawk, also one of the most fun video game franchises of all time because you can play it being a total idiot and slowly build up your skill level and be on any number of drugs and still be good at it.
Tony Hawk owned. Man, you know it was a great feeling as a kid when you just fucking you're at your friends and it's like 2 a.m. or some shit when you're like 12 or 13 and someone has a CKY video that they can put on like either on their computer or like just on the TV. When it went on the TV, it's like, oh, this shit fucking rocks. I have like a Proustian reaction to the CKY like theme.
A reverie.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Aaron Sorkin.
Yes. We're back. You thought you were done, but no, there's even more master to class.
So, all right, welcome back. It's another edition of Into the Mind of Sorkin.
Enter the Sorkin.
Yeah, it's part 2, baby. We did a lot of expositional kind of work on the idea of Masterclass in the first episode, but this is where we really dig deep into the Sorkin. So, few things I found out at the end that I'm just going to append here. When this Masterclass was originally released, it had more modules to it. So, I think in total, Felix, what was it? What was like 2.5 hours or something?
Yeah, it was made extra fucked up by the fact that it's in like 30 different segments. It's like almost like they should have just done 1 2-hour video.
It's confusing, and I think a lot of it is just because he didn't write a class. They just let him talk off the cut, and then they sort of tried to edit it into a class.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 13 modules, all like between 8 and 14 minutes long, maybe averaging 11 minutes long. So that's about the length of it in total. However, originally, it had more, and it was 7 hours and 38 minutes long.
You're fucking shitting me. How did he like take, I feel like he didn't take bathroom breaks during that.
No, that was
he probably has a catheter, right? He does, well, he loves astronauts, so he's probably just diping it up, right?
Yeah.
They found some sort of like crack 2 that he was on.
Yeah.
Like a next generation of crack that just blasted through 18 straight hours.
I love just having Adderall sweat sitting there and just telling people plot is the thing that happens. That's psychotic.
7 hours and 38 minutes.
He loves talking. That motherfucker loves talking.
Oh,
that
he loves
motherfucker
talking.
loves to speak.
And he's not good at it. Although he admits that he doesn't like it, or he admits that he's not good at it, which is kind of funny. But he clearly enjoys it. Yeah, it's a nice little stroll for him.
Yeah, he's I think I don't know, it's like someone who they admit they're not a great cook, but they just enjoy the act of cooking. It's fun to them.
Yeah, and they take pictures of their ugly food, put it on Instagram, looking at some of you.
Yeah, this is like when someone makes like an extremely wet chicken dish. One day.
Oh, God, no, the wet chicken.
We all know what I'm talking about here, right?
This is for anyone on Instagram or any social media platform. If you have chicken, I don't care how delicious it is, it will look gross and wet. Don't post it.
I only posted, I made fake fried chicken this week, and I only posted it because it's like the breading makes it look not
fried.
wet.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing. But a roasted chicken will always look disgusting. It will always look disgusting.
Yep.
Anyway, back to Aaron Sorkin, the roasted chicken of television.
Wet meal.
The large wet meal. So I think where we left off was sort of dramatization and story. Okay, well, first he says most screenplays are like 120 pages. His, because they're more dialogue and dialogue takes up more space, are 140 to 150, or they were when they started out. Now they're 180. He just wrote a 201
Oh boy.
page screenplay. So when he wrote his first draft of that rom-com, it was 385 pages, and he delivered it to the studio in a shopping bag.
I feel like that's a very classic screenwriter thing. Like every screenwriter will tell you, listen, the perfect screenplay is 120 pages long. Mine, 200. Or mine, 450, but yours, 120.
Yes, exactly. The rules
I
don't
think
apply
I've heard
to
that
me.
Tarantino writes like 400-page screenplays, but I assume that like 100 pages of that is just descriptions of like what the main character's feet look like and stuff like that.
Also, apparently they're handwritten, and he has to have them
psychotic.
They have to have them transcribed from his apparently barely literate scrawl.
You know who also did that? Tom Fontana, the guy who wrote Oz, the most insane show ever written.
We really should do an Oz episode sometime.
Matt,
Well, look, I take physical notes, but I'm the only person who I expect to be able to read them.
Yeah, because like a screenplay is like a manual for making the movie, and to have to translate it from somebody's insane, especially, can you imagine what like Tarantino's handwriting looks like?
No, I've seen some. It's awful.
Matt, we should do a This Is Sus about Oz.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely. That show was the first attempt to make a good show. It was like a mutant preemie baby.
It was like the rocket that killed Laika.
Yes,
it was the furthest first Soviet space flight of prestige
it was
TV.
Like,
Sacrifices had to be
half-botched
made.
operation just barely got out of the atmosphere.
Yes.
Okay, so the 385-page screenplay, when he had to explain it, he said, well, I fell in love with, and I thought he was going to say blow, but he said my own voice, which, I mean, one causes the other. Like, blow does tend to make you fall in love with your own voice. So he brings it to Rob Reiner, who's, legend in the field, puts together these very, classic, beloved films, and he says, okay, let's keep the rom-com part and lose literally everything else about the president being the president. And so he took what was cut, like he scooped up what was on the cutting room floor of that, and literally that was the West Wing. Which, by the way, was apparently never, like when it was pitched as well, also was considered, they considered doing a high concept thing where like you would never see the president and it would just be an office, which might have been cool. Like, and because if you think about someone like Iannucci and the thick of it, like doing the office politics of politics is very fun.
Yes.
And that could have, but that also requires like a sense of humor that Sorkin doesn't really have and whatever. So like it went like, I don't know, this conflicts with I wanted to make an office drama about the White House, and then him saying, I had this huge story about a president. So I don't know. I think he really bounced around with what he wanted to do. The only thing he knew for sure is that he loves the damn president.
He really does love the damn president.
It's hilarious. Yeah, that he wrote two president things. I mean, one, like as we talked about in the first episode of this, was a vehicle for Robert Redford's terrible idea.
So bad.
Absolutely,
he's such a bimbo.
Idea.
What a benevolent bimbo.
I love it. He's a great bimbo. Like that, like the most beautiful women ever were like just trying to just like fucking get some of that pipe. Oh, yeah. And he was like, "Can I tell you something?" And they're like, "Yes, yes, yes." Like it's happening. And then he's like, I've been working on a movie about if the president was a widow and had to date. And they were like, "This guy's so fucking stupid. He's so stupid and so hot."
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Like we've all been there.
But he is like, he could spend the rest of his career only writing screenplays about presidents. He loves them.
It's the only stakes that he can get off on.
Yeah.
So we went over a little bit about like his whole attitude towards plot, where he says, I don't have characters in my head. The tactics that the character uses to overcome an obstacle are what the character is. It's very weird. So he talks about the Facebook story and about he starts it out with Zuckerberg, has like a bad date and gets dumped. And he gets that the entire scene is like artificial, even though he used it like apparently the actual Facebook post. The weird thing about Sorkin too is that like he's like an autist that had to come of age without the internet, so he still has more humility than like a Zuckerberg. So his whole like thing with Zuck that works for him too is like people don't like you, but actually it's because you're smart. So it's the exact same kind of thing. He gravitates towards assholes that like have a skill or whatever, and you know whatever. His argument is that they're just so special. That's their persecution. He does the don't write long biographies thing. He says, don't write things about the character that have nothing to do with the story you're telling. I think you're getting involved with magical thinking, which I think is how you would describe the purpose of being a fiction writer to like a 5-year-old.
Like having an imagination.
It's magical thinking.
What? Like you, closing your eyes and imagining another person who isn't you with a different name and history and manners of speech. That's insane.
It's madness.
That thing about like people hate him for being smart. I realized like, oh, that sounds familiar, and it's because literally he says that out loud in everything he makes.
So I sent you guys the supercut.
There's literally a scene in all of his things where like the president or the great man's friend is like, people want to kick your ass and kill you for being so smart. Like there's just no subtext, it's just out there.
Yeah, and he literally, among many other pieces of dialogue, repeats it word for word across multiple projects. I mean, he is an insane self-plagiarist. The supercut.
No, he has so many ticks and like easy little pieces of filler that he throws into these scripts.
Yeah,
like this is not prime filet. This is some fucking dog chow. There's a lot of sawdust in those fucking burgers.
She's got legs that reach all the way down to the floor or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where else would legs go?
Why would you even want to say that once in one project? Let alone remind people.
It's cute when like it comes from a noir movie in the 1930s, but like he with him it has all the charm of like the swing dance revival.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like very weirdly like non-sexual. It's like I'm convinced they used to say that because they didn't invent tits until World War II.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. She's got gabs from here to Tuesday. Yeah. What is that? I don't know.
Psycho.
The legs thing really does like confuse me. Like, I mean, I get that there's such a thing as an attractive leg, but I don't know that anyone ever really got. Was it maybe just a euphemism for ass?
Matt and I discussed this once.
Yeah.
Here, I have a very thoroughly thought theory about this. So the legs thing was because when you think about things that could be revealed in women's clothes, it started with like ankles and then slowly up the leg to the knee and stuff. So that was the thing that was being covered and revealed. So it was the thing to lust over. But eventually,
tantalizing. It was the erotic like stand-in.
But by World War II, as Felix points out, you get like the bikini,
We're in
and now
Town, baby.
the entire leg is revealed, which is why all that eroticism of the leg has to go either to the ass or to the feet.
And the feet.
And now you have guys who are obsessed with asses and feet.
North or south, depending on your personal preference. But like it was like sort of, a tribe is in a fertile plain, and then the temperature shifts and the climate changes, and all of a sudden they can't forage there anymore, and so they have to move and find a more suitable place to go. And so that horniness, that energy, that erotic fixation has to go. Do they go up into the valleys or down into the
mountains?
Or up into the mountains or down into the valleys? Do I go go down and like look at the feet and imagine what they look like under those shoes? Or do I just imagine about what that butt looks like?
That's what foot fetishism is.
Yes.
Like there was a decision made in the 40s where it was like, all right, guys, tits or feet. And 90% of men went tits, but the 10%.
Yeah.
Really, the hipster perverts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is the 10% that runs media, banking, government, the feet guys.
They do seem to be disproportionately invested in high levels of influence.
Chris Cillizza, the greatest journalist in the world, the most respected.
Dick Morris.
Yes.
Andrew Cuomo. No, not Andrew Cuomo. Elliot Spitzer.
Yes.
Probably
Foot
Andrew
guy.
Cuomo. I would bet. He looks like one.
Do you think Sorkin's a foot guy?
Oh, yeah.
I think he's totally non-sexual.
I think that's why he writes about legs, is that he's not sexual.
Yeah, the way he says that, gams.
I think he sees sex as like the necessary evil you have to do to talk to a woman more.
Yeah.
To hear yourself speaking to a woman as much
To
as
tell her,
possible.
to explain something to a woman.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
All right.
he likes,
After I'm
with her.
done with this boring
he doesn't like
act.
feet. He likes pumps.
Yeah.
He likes like women's shoes because he's paraphiliac. He's not actually interested in sex.
Yeah, and like it's a nice court shoe. She would wear this to court. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It evinces power and authority. This is a shoe of a woman with a brain who knows what she's doing, but also is not as smart as me.
No, yeah, that's
Slightly
his
less
fantasy.
smart than me.
Okay.
His fantasy is lying in bed next to a woman who's like 20% less intelligent than him.
Yes.
But like still by that math, more intelligent than 99% of people.
Exactly.
And he's like, we don't write stories anymore.
Right.
Just doing that for 5 hours.
Before we move on, can I ask one question based on the previous discussion? Is Aaron Sorkin the most successful, least imaginative writer in the business? Because not only are all his stories about the same guy, Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, the president, Atticus Finch, the guy whose biggest weakness is that he's too good. They are all clearly also stand-ins for himself.
Of course.
So all he does in terms of the scope of his imagination is imagining different guys he's like and how cool they are.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point. He might be the least creative creator in Hollywood history.
Yeah, well,
like-
he also says that, again, there's no history to it because, that would be too private for Aaron Sorkin. He's not, he's not a New York personal memoir girl. He says your character was never 5 years old. Your character only gets to be 5 years old when the character says, when I was 5 years old. And then you saw him sort of grasp for a memory. And he goes, I saw my father kill himself, just as an example, which is like, could anything else have happened
Wait a minute,
at 5
is he
years
kidding?
old? No,
Wait a minute,
he's
that
just
wasn't
like,
him.
that's an
That's a
example. That's just an example.
So it has to be just wildly dramatic.
Yes, exactly. So like, Terrence Malick's, tender reflections on childhood where a kid breaks into a woman's house and steals her panties or whatever would never make it in because you have to literally watch your dad blow your brains out. That's the only stakes and that's the only time a childhood is ever worth talking about. And even then, the character has to say, I remember when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
This is funny for me because I'm currently editing Felix's the 2 hour This Is Sus about a million little pieces, which is another thing that apparently just takes a suicide as just like a cord of wood to shove into a fire of storytelling,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some people think it's a very rich, like a jumping off point. Again, because if you don't write characters, like it's a very traumatic event. So, so when he does get into characters, though, he admits certain things about his philosophy on characters, where he says, write characters, not people. Believe it or not, the properties of characters and the properties of people have very little to do with each other. Okay, well, that's definitely true for Sorkin. And he says, I know the goal seems like it should be for a character to be as human as possible. That's not the goal, or at least not my goal. So here's the thing. He mixes up human and realist. You don't have to have like a realistic character. Like you can definitely have like a surreal character behavior, but they still have to seem fucking human. And he does not know the difference, like at all. To him, like any kind of stylization, any like the bloodlessness of his characters is just like a style choice. That he's like, well, yeah, I'm not a realist writer, so whatever. He's not like a Stanislavski fan or whatever. But you can have like extremely cartoonish characters that nonetheless feel very human and alive and have like internal lives and emotions and aren't just like weird chattering dialogue boxes. So he compares it to photorealism in painting, which is like, again, like realism isn't the only way to like indicate texture or light or movement or action. It's just like no one sees Guernica and thinks, I just don't see anything really human in here. Like it's not like fucking realistic. Like that's not what it is. Like it's very stylized, but it also has like a lot of like life and human emotion in it, which he doesn't understand the difference.
In general, I find any artist whose vision of their art is to attempt to make it as most like the real world as possible, very suspect.
Why would you want that? Reality sucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, it bites, as some people have said in films.
It's like that fucking Lion King remake where they tried to make it exactly like.
I actually saw that movie.
Yeah. That was Smooth Lion King. Smooth Lion King.
I felt like I was staring into the apocalyptic eye of oblivion. I mean, it was so horrifying. Just this literal monstrosity. This thing. No, we're gonna make them all look like real animals. Like, why?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Also, they don't look like real animals. They look too smooth.
Well, but even if some of them look real, and it's just like a real lion with its mouth moving, and it's like, what is this? It's like its face is totally inexpressive. It can't dance or move around. It just stands there and mouths the thing. Why would that be more interesting to look at than something like with a creative, animal or animated style?
There was a PBS version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe where they had a big lion puppet that talked. That was cooler than the fucking reanimated Lion King.
The thing that that haunted me after seeing that movie and has haunted me since is, so they have everyone's favorite characters, right? Timon and Pumbaa, the comic relief, the meerkat, and the boar, right? Well, Timon, the meerkat, voiced this time by Billy Eichner, whenever he spoke, the meerkat would stand on its hind legs. Now, apparently, because of course this is very realistic, when a meerkat stands on its hind legs, it kind of presses its hands against its chest, and it looks kind of stiff, which meant that every time he delivered lines, he looked like he was being electrocuted. He looked like he was being compelled to stand that way, and it wasn't natural. Which presumably what would have happened if they had to use a real meerkat, but it was animated. They made it look gross and alienating and and stiff and like pained. They made it look like that because in their mind it's like, yeah, but it's realistic.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing and why?
I mean, this is where I do respect Sorkin too, where he's realistic stuff. I mean, whatever. There are some old weird Russian films and early French films or whatever where they do sort of hyper realistic kind of stuff. But those are a specific style choice. And also they're not really real. They have the appearance of being real. And but he doesn't know the difference between real and alive. Just because it's stylized, just because it's not real looking doesn't mean that it can also be completely flat and bloodless. Those aren't the same fucking thing.
Yeah, no, his whole thing is animatronics.
Yeah.
These wind up people spitting these pre-recorded
Hall of Presidents.
Yeah. That is his perfect that would be the funnest roller coaster in the world for him.
Right.
The Hall of Presidents. That's his favorite ride.
Yeah, that's his Space Mountain. Yeah. So he also talks about writing people who are unlike yourself, which is insane because he doesn't write any character that's unlike any other character.
I think he means that he wrote a woman character.
So that is actually what it is. He the subtext of this is that he's talking about writing women. And he goes into, I am a straight white Jewish man. Okay. He literally says the thing. And he says, I'll steer clear of writing about what it means to be black in America. My contribution to equality will be having it be irrelevant to the story, which could be fine, by the way. I the way I colorblind casting in Shakespeare or whatever. I don't care if you have a black Lady Macbeth, but you're writing about ostensibly American politics where actually it isn't irrelevant to the story. It's a pretty big deal. But
it's a part of the equation you've got to factor in when you're trying to explain these things.
It's around. Yeah. It would be strange to ignore. So he says he tries to fix it with writer's room diversity. He also says you have to identify with your anti-heroes, which I think he doesn't really have any anti-heroes, so that doesn't really make any sense. He says I have to find it out what it is about them that makes them like me, which again he just writes himself. Which again, he has to identify with the character, which I think that's a very childish way of looking at things. I love Lolita. I don't identify with the pedophile that abducts a little girl.
I mean, I think that when you're trying to create another character, I think that you're trying to find some like common like experience or like emotional or something like that can relate you to them to make it easier to like create them. But when he says that, he doesn't mean like the emotional core, like, you know, things that all people have in common, experiences that are true to everyone, no matter how evil. He means things like speech pattern and you know, like mode of argument and catchphrases. Just the most like in what way can this person be turned into me at the most superficial level?
Yeah.
The way that he's talking about this kind of reminds me of Matt. You watch the show Mindhunter, right?
Oh yeah.
The way he's talking about interrogating these characters reminds me of the shows where the parts where they're interviewing serial killers, where it's just like trying to find common ground with sociopaths.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the one guy gets in it too much, and then yes, exactly. Yeah, that was a really good scene. Also, like when you read the actual history of that guy, it's like he was so clearly a sensationalist, and they do, I think, a pretty good job building into the fact that, like, you know, the whole idea of profiling is kind of a fabrication.
Oh yeah, it's some pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Totally made up.
It makes people feel like in control, though, because it's like maybe we can prevent this or whatever. And sometimes people just got bad wiring, man.
Yeah, I think that the show actually does a decent job of sort of undermining the whole project. But
by the end, certainly.
Yeah.
So Sorkin talks about A Few Good Men. He admits that Nicholson sounds like a sociopath, but then he's like, well, but Bobby Knight used that speech to motivate his players. And it's
not
like,
a sociopath, Bobby Knight.
Yes, exactly. He says he doesn't like mustache twirling bad guys, which actually I do like agree with that, but also there is such a thing as enjoying being a bad guy. Like I remember Gillian Anderson was playing like Thatcher, and she gave one of this I hate this dumb actress speak where she's like, you know, I just really felt like she was such a complicated character and so misunderstood. Just be like, look, it is fun to play a monster. I am going to have a great time. I'm going to dig in my heels and be this horrible bitch that dismantled an entire country's workers' movement. Like, that's cool. That's way more cool than, like, you know, she had an intimacy with her husband. And it's like, fuck off. Like, you don't have to like her to like the part, you know?
I'm trying to think of, like, bad guy. I mean, A Few Good Men. I guess that's the weird thing about West Wing. The only bad guys in West Wing, like, who you could fully say are bad guys, are, like, faceless foreigners.
Yes, Muslims.
It's like
mostly.
when the fake Al Qaeda, like, kidnaps his daughter or something. It's like, and he recuses himself from being president. Like, even the, like, Newt Gingrich, Dennis Hastert composite isn't evil at all. He's just like, I think being a Republican is the nice thing to do.
But we all care about the country.
Yeah. It's so weird because it's a story about American politics where no one is a bad guy.
Like,
The
how
only
is
bad guys are
everything shit?
outside of America.
How does everything suck so bad?
Because he believes it's politics are a matter of maintaining stasis, not like a conflict.
Okay, the only bad guys who are like American in that show are like in the first season when it's like the bad, but he's not even a bad guy. He's just like an idiot. And then the famous scene where the president calls in all the religious people to own them with logic.
So good.
Those are bad guys.
Yeah. I think also
any religious person is basically a hillbilly. Like, it's very Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Josh and Dave point out that also he doesn't like environmentalists or like he doesn't like lefties that suggest something too outrageous. Like,
yeah, he looked at like what happened in the middle of the country and was like, they're just bad. They're just epic Christ hard.
They suck.
Yeah, they're epic Christards. They vote against their interests.
Yeah. Well, and like the anti-environmental thing is interesting because I don't think that there is a movement that's like, with very few movements within the left have been as demonized as environmentalists and animal rights activists. Like, that's
to be fair, they are annoying.
But everyone's annoying.
Animal rights activists are more annoying. They really are. Like, here's the trick here. No, here's the trick here. If you have what should be the most popular and uncontroversial issue, and yet people dislike you the least, you are doing a bad job. Animal rights stuff, my entire like Republican family thinks that like factory farming is horrible, like Republicans, unless they're like Mitt Romney, tend to hate animal cruelty. Literally, people love animals. So how bad are animal rights activists to take what should be the most popular bipartisan thing that you could possibly get behind and just be so annoying? Maybe it is a psyop.
I do know. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a fucking psyop. Like, I think PETA is literally run by the CIA.
Probably.
I mean,
PETA is probably like the meat industry, like a meat industry
when you look
psyop,
at like something like Extinction Rebellion, it's like that's clearly a strategy.
Yeah. I'm just like, guess what? I hate the environment now. I heard the drums, and now I hate the environment.
Environmentalism and animal rights, it should be incredibly popular, but it's like, it's so easy to be against. It's so easy to like be epic and be like, but you don't want the good sir's bacon, or like, you know, why don't you go fuck a tree, you pussy? Because this shit's been so psyoped. And then any like actual radicals within the movement, the government has gone after them harder than like really almost any other political.
That is true.
Like
in the
ELF
90s,
got
there are a lot of money. There's a lot of money behind this. Yeah.
Well, the FBI was like waiting for the CIA to finish putting the thermite plasma up. They kind of like spent their time just going to town on environmental activists.
Yeah.
Robert Mueller.
Maybe Felix and I should do a history of animal rights episode, because I know a lot. I was a vegetarian for 13 years. In Indiana, of all fucking places.
Oh my God! A lot of corn.
Yeah,
a lot of cornmeals.
A lot of corn. A lot of milk.
Pellagra.
I should. Yeah, I'm getting weird depression, era diseases. Also like lots of. I had to have like a ton of milk, which God knows the amount of like estrogen like disruption.
Yeah.
Because like of course all that milk is full of. God knows
that's some
what.
hormonal ash milk right there.
Extremely. I'm just getting PMS like while drinking it. It's insane. But yeah, no. We should do an episode on that sometime.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Just to go back to who's the villains in Aaron Sorkin, I was thinking about what you guys were saying between the West Wing about who's portrayed as villainous, and also like my joke was going to be you just tossed off that like in the newsroom the villain was the news itself that had to be tamed. But really thinking about that first scene, who he is confrontational with is that idiot Northwestern student that doesn't understand
blonde harlot.
The real enemy in Aaron Sorkin, at least between West Wing and the newsroom, is the public. They are the monster that needs to be changed.
We're gonna get into that because
the viewers of the thing
about it.
His
he
audience
talks about it.
He talks about it.
Yeah,
well, I'll put a pin in that.
So, okay. Anyway, Sorkin does these weird things, which I thought was really funny because he's such a dork. So he noticed the guy who played Toby, and they had filmed the first few episodes of The West Wing, and he had been wearing a wedding ring. And then he came up to him afterwards. He's like, I never thought of Toby as being married. Like, clearly prepping to be like, we're going to have to reshoot all your scenes because you forgot to take off your wedding ring. And then this guy, who must be a genius, was just, in my head, this is how it happens. He apparently said to him, yeah, I didn't either. And he's like, well, why did you wear a wedding ring? And he goes, because I want you to find a reason why my character is wearing a wedding ring. Which is the most amazing. If he's doing the thing that I think he is doing, that's a brilliant way of being like, I do not want to do reshoots. What can I do to flatter you into... It was brilliant.
Fucking owns.
Yeah. Also, like, who cares? It's a fucking wedding ring. Anyway.
Oh man.
So the stuff on research is amazing. He says there's two types of research: nuts and bolts, and the example he used is how many nuts and bolts are at the Golden Gate Bridge. And I don't know if that's a bit of wordplay or he doesn't know that nuts and bolts is just sort of a turn of phrase and not a. And then the other one was exploratory. So like he's talking about expository and exploratory research, but he doesn't use either of those words at all. He just says like, there's like things that you need to know that are like details. And then there are things that you just sort of like go around and learn things about stuff. So for example, and he meant to say, I am technologically illiterate because he was about to talk about, writing, The Social Network. But it came out, I'm technically illiterate. And the example he used for exploratory research was, how does a computer work? Not even how does the
Really
internet
hard
work.
to figure out if you can't read.
Yeah. I mean, he's technically illiterate. So he says maybe about 90% of the research he does doesn't make it into the movie. He also says he doesn't really like doing his own technical research, and he hires people to do it, which I understand if you're doing something like The West Wing, where there are so many, like, I don't understand the roles of every like a person on White House staff. I never have. I have to Google it every time one of them gets replaced. I'm like, what did this person do again? And it turns out like it kind of also varies between administration what they do, so it doesn't really matter. Like these are, it's a lot of soft skills in these jobs. So I understand like you want people who are specialists and consultants and stuff for something that comprehensive, but he doesn't really seem to like doing research except for interviews, which is weird because can you imagine being interviewed by Aaron Sorkin? Him just being like 3 inches from your face, being like, and then what happened? He also had former Secret Service Reagan on his staff. He says he's going to name drop their organization, where he says it's a nonprofit that's used to find missing children.
What's up?
He says that, like, so I looked into this, by the way, and it's either the Center for Missing Children or the International Center for Missing Children, which is literally just something started by the artist Jeff Koons to sort of launder his legal fees in a paternity or in a custody suit that he had with his, I think, Hungarian porn star wife, who left him after he wasn't paying child support and went back to Italy to resume working.
That's the way that children go missing.
And then
court.
And then he had to give it like a deposition to try and get custody, where he said even though he had made like porn with this woman, that she was an unfit mother because she had done porn, and sorry, it was art, but there was like, it was actual sex they filmed and displayed. And he said a Protestant upbringing was very important for his child, so he needed to do that. So he donated a bunch of money to the formation of this organization that's like the International Center for Missing Children, which is not affiliated with the government institution, just the Center for Missing Children. And he now oversees a think tank on this, which has provided a means by which that he can sort of launder his legal fees for fathers' rights. And by the way, that is why I like research. And Aaron Sorkin will never get to enjoy that kind of moment that I got to have when I'm just scrolling through like old New Yorker articles, learning about Jeff Koons' divorce and the fact that he now runs a missing children nonprofit. Like, how do you not enjoy research? The world is so fucking weird. Research is the best part. Plus, you don't have to actually like do anything but absorb information and take notes. It's much better than actually making something, which is hard and boring.
Yeah, but knowing about the outside world makes it harder for you to create a fantasy version of it that you're going to reenact all this shit in. You don't want to be reminded that your version of how politics works, Missy, is a complete cotton candy fantasy land.
Oh,
so
God.
Why would you want to research and be reminded that?
I'm sorry, but on that Coon story, arguing successfully in court to divorce your wife because she's simultaneously too pornographic and too Catholic owns. Good job, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, they had already divorced. This was him trying to get the kid back, even though he is the richest artist in the world and was just completely screwing her on child support. So he actually didn't even win the suit against like an insane woman who, by the way, later ran for one of these crazy people, Italian Senate seats for the party of like sexy pasta and peace or whatever. Because
that's half the parties in Italy.
I know.
Like
one of the best
sexy women in the Senate.
One of the best 30 Rock jokes was literally like, Lemon, you're dressed like an Italian senator, which meant she looked slutty. But speaking of which, so Alec Baldwin, he talked about working with Alec Baldwin, who is paying like a surgeon at one point, and he was watching like hours of surgeries and like the theater, and he's like, Alec, you're not actually going to do surgery, and it's like, yeah, but shouldn't he like look at it? Like,
yeah, you should be familiar with the thing that his character does.
Yeah,
the initial characterization of his character.
Granted, actors can totally get up their own asses, and I know, I'm sure that Alec Baldwin is the type of person who might be, let's say, a little intense with his acting preparations. But like, surgery isn't a completely foreign thing to people. Doctors talk about all the time how like they hate in medical dramas how distracting it is when people like touch things after they put on gloves, or if it doesn't look right, it is distracting to some people. It's not like being an astronaut where like an astronaut could just start like playing a console like a piano, and I'd be like, I don't know, that's probably what they do. Like he says of the Social Network. There's a line where they said, or no, not the Social Network. There's the Jobs movie. He says, the screen says it's unimplemented, but the dialogue box is wrong. It's a system error, which is like one of the opening lines of like the launch. And he says, yeah, I don't know what that means. He like wrote it into the script and he never learned what any of that jargon meant, which like, I don't know what it means either, but I feel like I could have looked it up.
It's definitely something you could at least read a Wikipedia article about, but
I could ask a guy with Aaron Sorkin's resources, and he said, I never learned what it meant, but it sounds cool. And he says, I'm always looking for a quote cool patois.
But that's like what does Sorkin does use his resources and does like try to find these primary sources, but the how he uses them and the sources he finds are like,
it's mystifying.
Yeah, finding Reagan's Secret Service agent to be like, what was he like? Was he presidential all the time? Just like bullshit. Like, what was the vibe of this guy?
Right.
Just like no technical anything.
So he says he doesn't always want the audience to know what the characters are talking about, which also I do agree with him on. Like, it's fine. Yeah.
Sure.
But he should know what he's talking about. I feel like that's kind of integral. Like, that's why he's the writer and I'm the audience. He talks about the more important truth. He does understand adaptation. He believes he has a Hippocratic oath where he doesn't want to write something that like hurts someone. Which
what?
Yes, he thinks he's a doctor.
Like someone did a school shooting because of something in West Wing.
I have no fucking idea.
So Dylan and Eric were watching.
I have no idea like what that means, and it's like, but it also proves that like he can't write about a bad guy. Like he can't make them really bad because he says it would be like an assassination.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he loves writing about true stories, and in the true stories that he writes about, to be dramatic, people have to do bad things to other people. So, like, theoretically, somebody involved in, like, the Facebook creation would watch The Social Network and be like, oh, I look like an asshole here. That would hurt somebody.
I don't believe that. I think it's just he says he doesn't want to write really, really bad guys. And he believes that he can't do that. But it's like sometimes people are really, really bad.
There's some bad seeds.
Yeah. Some people got bad wiring.
I think, honestly, that he doesn't want to write bad people, really bad people, because he's afraid he'd do such a good job that he would convince people that they were actually good, and that the bad things they did were good, and that they would go out and do them.
Must be.
I think you're completely inside Sorkin's mind right now. I think you are completely correct, because it's like, he's like, no, if Hitler spoke with my dialogue,
exactly,
people would think he's cool.
It would be so dangerous.
Exactly right.
As a speechwriter, he would all be speaking German.
He would be like
walking down hallways.
He would be like, dang, Lana Del Rey teaching the girls that it's cool to get hit by your boyfriend. He would be glamorizing the evil.
What's the Lana Del Rey thing people are mad about?
People are getting mad because she said
I'm
something.
a sexy baby.
Yeah. And people are like, this is wrong. Don't you know what happens to sexy babies? And it's like, it's just a song, right? Like, it's literally just a song. Also, I'm sorry, female empowerment does not make a good love song. Like,
Yeah.
being pathetic makes a good love song.
So, as far as I could tell from listening to one Lana Del Rey album like many years ago, all her songs are about like being in love with a greaser who abuses you.
Yeah. For a while, it was really, really retro, and now it's more like the Chris Isaak kind of Wicked Game.
That's the fucking coolest song ever.
It's the coolest song. It's the hottest video. It is very sexually
owns.
formative to me. It did, however, do a terrible disservice to the culture by glamorizing sex on the beach, which is actually gross and sandy.
Very difficult.
Very gross. It's very uncomfortable. So really, Chris
good.
Isaak has a lot to answer for in glamorizing something that is bad and wrong.
Well, maybe he did it right. He seems like a cool guy. And it's like he somehow finds a way to fuck on the beach where he doesn't get sand in his asshole.
If anyone could do it, it would be Chris Isaak.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God. That video.
Like a normal civilian attempting sex on the beach, they are getting rashes you haven't even thought about. You're getting rashes you won't fucking believe.
He actually, and people don't notice this because the song is so hot, it's full of yodeling. He's yodeling in that song. He makes yodeling hot. He makes yodeling hot. He's amazing.
He's the king.
Yeah, so, okay. Then he moves on to the audience. He says an audience is a component in the event, which, you know what? I'm good for him. I didn't think he'd get that far. He talks about the balance of explaining and condescending to the audience, because it says, like, your audience is smart. And I don't think he gets that, like, actually he panders to his audience. He does this nagging thing where he says, like, I know you don't know what this is, but you know what this is, and that's why you're smart. Like, it's like a weird kind of like manipulative thing where it's like, you're kind of a butterface, but man, that ass. Like, that's what he does with audiences.
Well, it's also like, and this was kind of the thing that I was talking about earlier. It's like he seems to feel like even though he says that you don't need to like pander or like explain versus lecturing to, it does seem like the goal of an Aaron Sorkin property is to teach the audience to live a virtuous life by way of his argument.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also a salesman's sort of tactic of being like, look, I'm not going to talk down to you. You're a smart guy, to get them to buy the more expensive product.
Yes.
I am a
100%.
smart guy.
Yeah.
I am. I will buy the copper piping.
When I was a teenager, I bought a book called The Intelligent Person's Guide to Philosophy because the title it's for intelligent people.
Right.
It's like, I'm reading it, therefore I am one.
Yeah. I bet, though, at this point, the Dumb Bitch's Guide to Philosophy would sell much better.
Oh, much more.
Yeah. That would be, it would get a blurb from, like, Anna and Dasha. It would, like, it would be, every girl would be taking an Instagram selfie with their copy. Like, it would go viral. Because
we're sipping on dumb bitchin' philosophy juice.
We've all been humbled, and we just want to admit that we're dumb bitches that need someone to explain the philosophy to us.
Like the For Dummies series, but with like pink covers instead.
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally call The West Wing the thinking man's guide to American politics.
Absolutely.
Yes,
indeed. Yes, quite.
He admits that he has no natural intuition about story, and went to college for a BFA because he required an academic approach to drama, which was really interesting. He's like, no, I don't have any like natural aptitude for it. So then he gets into Aristotle. So he gets into Aristotle's Poetics, which is like the first and still like the primary text on drama, which I did end up reading, like because it's like 60 pages or something. And he has this thing where he says like, rules are what make art beautiful, otherwise you're just finger painting. And I agree with that. Because even if you ignore the rules, you have to know what the rules are to break them in an interesting way. And that is the problem I realized with Sorkin's whole dialogue thing. And so I want to retract what I said before. He does know that it's not realistic dialogue. He does know on some level that it's stylized. He just has no idea how, because he doesn't know what real dialogue sounds like. So he knows that like this is like a style thing because people tell him, but like he couldn't imitate real dialogue if he tried, which is insane. It's fucking insane. Like he's figured out, I have a style, and it's like, well, but you're just one of those abstract painters that paints abstractly because you don't know how to paint well. But he says, be a diagnostician. When you see something and it doesn't work, instead of just being snarky about it, instead of just, this is a quote, joking with your friends about how bad this thing was, figure out why it's bad. Okay.
We are.
Totally agree with being a diagnostician.
2 episodes about it.
Yes, exactly. He's just like, but he does not recognize that humor and comedy and parody and irony are a diagnostic tool.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a great way to figure out like how do you make fun of something? And just because like some of the best stuff in the world is very easy, it's very ripe for parody. It doesn't mean it's bad, but like making fun of something is an amazing diagnostic tool for seeing like what makes it fucking work. Like how many
in fact, like I think like the sturdiest fiction usually, like sturdiest mass fiction is the most reliable parody. Like the things that are most routinely parodied are things that are like pretty narratively sturdy and memorable. Like things like The Matrix that are parodied all the time, or like fucking Casablanca. They're things that people have an easy time latching onto and remembering the vital elements of.
Think about like Tex Avery cartoons and how many like tropes of old movies they used where they were just like making fun of like, Betty Davis or Peter Lorre or whatever. It wasn't because they were bad, it was because they were extremely memorable. But the comedy was an amazing like diagnostic tool for like figuring out like what the essence of that character was and what their vibe was. But also, it's a great way of fucking taking apart bad art too.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like usually parodies of bad art, they're usually like very one-off because bad art's incredibly ephemeral and it usually goes right through you unless it's like sort of so comprehensively weird it has its own following. Like The Room. The Room is lasting because it's so... Like, bad art's usually just derivative of other things, but sloppy, and it does a million little tiny things so wrong that it just goes right through you, and it's unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's like, I don't know, like, whatever Mad TV parody of, like, whatever, like, shitty action movie. Like, Payback or Paycheck with Ben Affleck, that one movie where he would get his memory wiped. You wouldn't still be doing parodies of that in 2020 because no one remembers that movie from 2003, that very forgettable mid-tier, mid-box office shit. But you would be able to do that with The Room because it's so, like, everything about it's so baffling because it is kind of ambitious, but the creators have none of the tools needed.
Yeah, it's so ambitious and so poorly executed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is amazing.
Well, that's like we do a lot of like parodying jokes about like Christian movies for this, and I feel like those are like we can always do those because usually the thing isn't that I wouldn't say it's that they're lazy; they're just so baffling and they have such a different aura,
like a whole different
regular bad movie.
A whole different film vocabulary, which makes it interesting to make fun of because you can feel the tension between what. Like their literal like book of words they can use and what you come to expect from a mainstream movie.
But also parody and mockery does not, destroy like or trick an audience into believing that a good thing is bad. So like that's not really like that's almost like an unfounded fear that like you can't be made fun of because it'll mean no one understands your art is good. That's totally absurd. There was like there was an essay by this feminist Barbara Grazzuti Harrison where she just made fun of Joan Didion and everything she said was right, and it's just sort of ruthless. And she called her a hysterical Cher posing as a writer, but it doesn't mean that I don't like Joan Didion. She's like, but those criticisms were also right, or like whatever. I remember there's a tweet about like Come Town once where they said, and then Nick says, like, what if a Chinese guy was gay? Adam says, yeah, cool. Stav laughs like a dolphin. that is like actually a good tweet. And this was a person that like hated Cumtown, but they didn't get that like, yeah, that is funny. Like you being able to make fun of it doesn't mean it's not good.
Right.
And like even, your whatever like cute tweet about it is like not bad and not even a poor consolidation, but something being mockable doesn't mean it's good. A lot of great stuff is really mockable because it's absurd and insane.
Yeah, Citizen Kane is absurd and it's still a great movie.
Yeah.
It's absurd and highly parodiable and mockable, but yeah, that doesn't make it bad necessarily.
Yeah. So he says read Aristotle's Poetics, which is really kind of a maybe not whatever.
All right, buddy, I'm definitely going to do that.
They have I did. So they have a like cheat sheet for Aristotle's Poetics, which is like totally bad. It's not good. And it doesn't understand certain things. But I do agree with him that you should know the rules because you can't, there's no avant-garde if you don't know the vanguard.
Which is kind of a frustrating thing to hear him say since he works so exclusively within his own self-defined rules.
Yep.
And like if people who have style, like often the best art, especially in Hollywood, is when people who have style or creativity or ambition, watching them bump up against the limitations put onto them by the business or the other people around them or stuff. And like, which is why there's so many, auteur filmmakers who have these careers where they have these great, tight, early films and then they get success and then eventually are given unlimited freedom to do something and make something totally incomprehensible and bizarre when they have unlimited freedom because the tension is what makes something good.
Well, that is, I think, like, what is the difference between Avatar and T2? Terminator 2 is one of the greatest.
Yeah.
I seriously think it's one of the greatest fucking movies ever made.
Yeah.
I think Avatar is unfairly maligned, but I'm not going to say that it's on the level of T2.
No, but it's really interesting.
But it's like T2 is Cameron. He's running up against the edges of an action movie, the confines of it.
Yeah.
And he does the best job he can do. He fills those spaces the best that anyone ever has done in an action movie.
Yeah.
It's the best stretching of the confines of the genre ever. And that's why it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Right.
But
And that's the thing is that like Avatar, he's like, what if I just made everything from scratch and a whole world and a whole economy and a whole like, and it's just like, you know what? That might have been a little too ambitious, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. But Avatar still has Avatar has better politics than Parasite.
I guess what I'm saying is
by the way, that is a joke. That's correct.
No, I'm right. I'm totally right.
I guess what I'm saying is that for as much as we clown on him, I would genuinely like to see Sorkin's Avatar. For him to just like pull the lid off and be like,
create an entire world.
Oh my God.
And it has to be like to do something where because he basically is just a bag of dramatic tricks, right?
Yeah,
right,
they would need it. They would need another coup in Colombia. I tell you that much.
It would be about like a president who invents a computer.
Goes
How about
in
this?
space.
Here's my pitch: President World. Every person is the president.
Exactly.
in this
And
world.
I was going to say, so it starts off, they're in the spaceship going to President World. There's a lot of snappy dialogue. And then the camera pans to the front of the ship through the big windshield. And it shows that the planet is shaped like the White House.
Oh, God, we're onto something.
That would be Sorkin's utopia, where everyone is the president. That is the final goal of communism, kind of. If you think about it,
it's true.
Sorkin is the most influential communist screenwriter.
Okay, so he moves on to writing scenes. He says, "Be careful about standing still."
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He's very insecure with silence, quiet, stillness. He said stories involve motion. And if the story doesn't involve motion, you put the camera on a dolly and make it do a fucking like roller coaster ride around a still scene of like 5 people around a table because you can't stand the sound of 2 people's voices. He can't stand silence or stillness. And he makes movies about offices.
I love that is a Sorkin thing. Like that is what I loved about The West Wing. That scenes where it's just like a bunch of old guys at a table talking about Social Security or arguing about PBS. It's filmed with like the kinesis of a CKY skating video segment.
Yes, I think that the director's major, cinematic influence was the Tony Hawk video game. Like, it's completely insane, but it's just 5 guys around a table. He, let's see here. He does talk about comedy. He says, he likes it when smart people slip on a banana peel.
Not when morons do it, because that's where they belong, those stupid pigs.
Well, Sorkin does agree with me that the funniest possible thing that I've talked about before would be a science nerd breaking all his science shit with his hard-on from King and Dave.
Agreed. Yeah.
You are correct, Aaron.
There are certain things that I've talked about this with my friend Jed. Like, look, someone falling down the stairs holding something very valuable that breaks is funny. Losing, a piece of your steak down a Dowager Countess's bazoom is very funny.
Oh dear!
Yeah, like things that interrupt polite society or crush precious things are funny.
Do you want to hear a good real life example of that?
Yes.
My grandfather was a doctor, and he was also a professor of philosophy. And one time he dropped an eclair down the cleavage of the university president's wife.
This is amazing.
That rocks. Dude.
That's great. That's a Marx Brothers movie.
He swagged it.
Yeah.
He fucked around.
So he admits he doesn't know a lot of rules about comedy. He says that odd numbers are funnier than evens. 17 is funnier than 16.
I don't know. I mean,
I think it might be right. I can't explain it, but he might be correct. I don't know. I'll have to investigate it further.
He might be right about that one. He doesn't even start with like the most elementary stuff because he doesn't like making fun of appearances. He says he likes callbacks and like sleepers, but the thing is his shit moves too quickly to really have a callback because he's impatient. So he'll be like, he used some example. Someone's like, I work with some of the smartest people in the world.
Some of the smartest goddamn people in Hollywood.
And then someone in the scene like falls, like sits down on a chair that like breaks or whatever. And it's like, it moves so fast that like you can't do a callback if you don't wait for something to call back for. He has no patience for it. Yeah, so it's also weird to go vaudeville with like a drama script. Like he could maybe have some witty banter. I don't know. He admits that he doesn't understand comedy.
Well, going back to the thing about Sorkin and legs, he's a very antiquated guy. Not in that his opinions are conservative, but that he is like a screenwriter from 1932.
Yeah.
And like the only way he can think of someone being funny is like, dropping the eclair down the woman's cleavage.
But he won't do that because it's too crude, and he won't make fun of like faces because that's mean.
Right. But it's like those aren't the only two options in comedy. Is like the eclair or saying someone's ugly. It's like that's why we've talked about The Thick of It a lot. The Thick of It is so funny because it's funny kind of for the same reasons that a lot of Brass Eye and Day to Day shit's funny. It's that
ineptitude is funny.
Ineptitude mixed with pomposity is hilarious.
Yes. That's a confident and competent person is always funny. It was Parks and Recs lady. She said
Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler, yeah. So Amy Poehler said that her favorite characters to play were women with an undue sense of confidence, and it's like it's true. That's funny. That's genuinely funny. That's also why Parks and Recs got not funny at the end, because you started to think that she deserved her confidence.
No, yeah, they made her into a superwoman, so there was no contrast.
Yeah. So he talks about the other guys and Adam McKay, and he likes that stuff.
Other Guys is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly fucking funny movie.
It's weird, though, that like the Adam McKay comedies break all of the rules that Sorkin, like they're really nonlinear. Half of them are developed from improvisation, and they're just character-driven work. They're amazing.
That movie, like to me, the funniest joke in that movie is when there's like the nerd accountant at the NYPD, And Wahlberg is like, what do you do around here? And he's like, I do accounting and I make a mean pot of decaf. And he's like, exactly. You're a worthless piece of shit. Like, that's entirely character. Entirely.
The whole thing. Yeah.
I actually just rewatched the other guys, and I love the end credits of that, where the entire movie is just like this goof 'em up about crimes, and then the end credits, and we love Adam McKay, but the end credits are just a PowerPoint presentation about financial corruption set to Rage Against the Machine's cover of Maggie's Farm. And you can just you could just tell Adam McKay's like, what I really want to do is explain how bad financialization is.
He's a dude, and dude's wrong. Yeah,
it was the embryo for The Big Short right there.
Mm-hmm.
So just to sort of like get to the final thing here, where he goes to writing captivating dialogue, and this is what we're all here for.
Yeah, get the popcorn.
This is what we're all here. They saved it for the end. You were patient. So he says captivating, which I think is a very telling word, because the meaning of the word captivating is literally something that holds you captive. He says dialogue is the least teachable part of writing. I'm not sure if I agree or disagree with that, but that is a thing that he said. He also said dialogue is music. He says that anytime someone is speaking, it's for the purpose of performance. So study the pulpit and the soapbox. One of the homework assignments, he says, is to learn about dialogue, is to look at Obama's 2008 acceptance speech and listen to it. So
for dialogue?
Yes.
That's not dialogue.
It's not dialogue.
That's a monologue.
Yes, it's
literally a monologue.
It's not just that, it's ad copy.
That's also true. You're not talking, it's not communicating to any person anything. It's just total vacuity.
Yeah, but that's the thing that I realize. It's like, okay, he gets that his dialogue is stylized. He just has no idea how, because he doesn't know what real dialogue sounds like. So when he listens to people talk, he immediately, his brain has like a little Brita filter in it that filters it down into Sorkin speak, because that's all he can do now. He says that when he writes a script, he will know if actors have dropped a syllable or added a syllable. Not a word, not a phrase, a syllable. He believes that his scripts are delivered to him from God. And anything an actor does with them, even adding or subtracting a single syllable, is wrong. And it's adding a note to a symphony. He literally says that. He also plays every part of everything that he writes. He walks around and does his dialogue with himself. He said he once broke his nose while writing, but he didn't say, I destroyed my septum, which is what I... He says he just reads his own work so violently that's what happens.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
Yeah, that's how it happens. So he does like a final closing thoughts thing. And you're watching this man sort of like confusedly go through the rules of his like algorithm, which has been very successful. And this is when I'm actually kind of heartbroken for him, because one, they cut out like fucking 6 hours of this thing where he interacted with an actual classroom of like wannabe writers. And he's very sweet to them. And he's like, well, the good news is you're all writers. You're all real writers. But I actually kind of believe that he likes them and he wants them to succeed. So he's saying they're all talented. They're all whatever. They're all successful. They're all going to be successful, which is like a horrible thing to tell. You can just like a commencement speech. It's like idiotic. But he does seem to actually like them. And when he gives like final closing advice, one of the things that he never really mentions is, or that he mentions but doesn't mention it in any of the writing process, or that in any of this process, that like you're supposed to have peers and colleagues and collaborators and, you know, people you work with. So he said, find people who you can trust who will like read your work. But it's like, you never mentioned that in any of this shit. And the whole point of a class, and this gets down to my issue with Masterclass, is that it is a shortcut to an artistic community where you have someone leading it who has more experience than other people, who can tell you things that maybe you disagree with, but also you have people around you that discuss things with. It's a community thing. I mean, like, even when I moved to New York, I immediately like found people to live with who I thought were talented that didn't do the same thing as me. They weren't successful, but they were like talented. I think when Felix moved in with me, he was still missing a tooth from a fight and had a lisp.
It wasn't a fight. It was I just had a rotted tooth. I mean, it was probably that tooth got fucked up from training, but I did train in a very dingy gym where it got fucked. I didn't wear a mouth guard. It was my fault.
I would go so far as to say that you were not successful is where we'll go at.
No, it was a transitory period of my life.
Yeah. When Nick moved in with us, I think he might have had scurvy.
He absolutely did. Nick 100% had scurvy.
Yes.
No doubt.
So, like, the idea, and maybe it's because I come from a punk background, that you should actually surround yourself with people who you can butt up against is sort of tacked on at the end, but he never puts it as a part of his, like, writing process at all. And it's just like, where are the hangs? Like, where's like hangs with your buddies who like love the things that you love, and where's like the collaboration and friendship, and equally, where's the rivalry? Like, where's the competition? Where's the person who makes what you make in a way that you find so aesthetically offensive that you have to think harder about what you do and why you do it? Like, where is like the people that you want to destroy because they suck so bad? Because those are the people that make you better. It's not just someone, even the idea of a teacher, which is I hate the word mentor. It's a good concept for writing, but this is just a guy on a screen. And I think for someone like Sorkin, this stuff still makes sense to him because he's like, well, of course, you get the information from the screen and then you go and make art. And like, to him, it's not, like, art is social. Like, that is how you fucking make something. And Masterclass is just like more neoliberal isolationism. And he gets to this shit after he says all this stuff about rules and, you know, how you have to trust yourself. He completely contradicts himself and says, like, find people, you know, you trust that I'm sure he doesn't have. And he says, you have the purpose of like grad school, for example, and he wishes so badly that he went to grad school and got like an MFA. He says the purpose is to be able to write the worst things you've ever written and get them out of the way. And he said, I never got to do that. He says, I'm kind of stuck, and that window is closed for me. All the President's Men was my first thing. And now that's the thing I have to do. I don't get to take chances anymore. So you need to do it. And I think it's really tragic because, like, I think about something that someone said about, like, the way, say, stand-up comedy works. You used to go and bomb over and over again until you got, like, something that worked, and then you worked that out and you built it up. And now with the internet, all of your bombs are forever there for everyone to see. So there's no way to, like, fail. Like, the stakes are so high because everything is constantly being recorded. And we're basically all Aaron Sorkin now. To where we have painted ourselves into a corner because everyone is already watching us. And it is the only thing, like, he knows that it's a bad thing. He knows that it's like, I could have maybe been a more creative writer or developed as a voice or done more compelling things. But I got famous and successful straight out of the gate, and now I'm locked into this thing. And so he just keeps fucking like a dog tied to a post, just walking like the grass down into a pit in a circle, just like doing the same perimeter over and over and over again. And it's incredibly fucking tragic. And he knows it too.
That is really interesting to hear his combative relationship with his own work and know that the reason that we'll never get Aaron Sorkin's Avatar is because he was successful at everything he did and now can only do that one thing.
Yeah. It is tragic. Yeah. Like,
you need restraints.
Going back a little bit to what Amber said about, like, where is the combativeness, where is the rivalry, where is just hanging with your buddies? Sorkin does have narrative gifts. Like, he writes a narrative better than a lot of other like shitty Hollywood writers. If he worked with somebody who liked characters, and liked these things that he does not like, maybe he could make something that was like truly great.
Or maybe if he collaborated with his actors and weren't such a fucking control freak, and it wasn't like, I'm sorry, you dropped a syllable. It's miserable. It's like it's got to be like, I do not get the impression he likes his own work or likes what he is doing. I get the impression he has figured out an algorithm and he's trying every day to remember what it was he loved about, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf when he was 9 years old.
He needs a homie.
He needs a homie. And
that's what he needs more than anything.
He warns these kids about these young writers about the internet. And he's like, you need to not listen to them. You need to not write for other people. And it's like, well, okay, you don't write for the internet. You don't crowdsource either your compliments or your insults. Like, you should be more distanced from the audience than most people are now just because of the internet. But he took it so far to the point where he doesn't listen to anyone. He has no community. He has no peers, no colleagues, no mentors. He doesn't even let his actors drop a syllable. And he can't quite figure out why his stuff doesn't sparkle. And it's because it's absent other people from beginning to end. They're all gone. It's just him.
It's sterile.
Oh, there but for the grace of God, man.
Yeah, go outside.
Yeah.
Give another person the benefit of any respect for their intelligence when they respond to your work.
Who's someone that Sorkin would respect enough to be their friend?
Literally, like Barack Obama.
Yeah, no, that would be it.
Obama, do something good for once in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And because of his subject, too, though, the only people that he respects enable his worst work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be a Big Brother program where I don't know, Bong Joon-ho has to hang out with him 2 hours a week or something.
I wish Tim Riggins was real, because then you could make him Aaron Sorkin's friend, and Sorkin could get all these formative experiences that he should have had.
Yeah, he should have done this very early on, and he missed his chance, and he knows that, and you can tell he's sort of frustrated and sad, and he wishes he could have taken more chances earlier. But the rest of us are stuck.
Aaron Sorkin, if you somehow end up listening to this, when quarantine's over, come to New York. We'll get you drunk in a dive bar and listen to you all your craziest ideas and tell you the most out there ones are the ones you should pursue.
Aaron,
we can talk about movies.
Yeah. When the gyms are open again, you can go to the gym with me.
Yeah,
I bet he does go to the gym.
Yeah, but he probably wears chinos to the gym.
For sure.
I'm going to show him how to do it the right way.
He literally has, I think, a sweater vest in this.
He had an Under Armour sweater vest. I miss the gym so fucking much.
Yeah, me too.
God damn it.
Well, should we put a bow on this?
Yeah. So I know this was pretty frenetic, but it is chaos. The mind of Aaron Sorkin.
Yes.
It's a little difficult to parse through because, again, it was edited down from 7 hours and 38 minutes to 2.5 or something. And it moves at a lightning quick pace. So it was difficult to even just fit this into 2 episodes. This was my 385-page script on Aaron Sorkin. But I hope I learned a lot personally. And I came out the other side, maybe not, enlightened, but I've reached some resolution about this man who has had such an influence on narrative structure and story in America. And I have to say, Aaron Sorkin, I forgive you.
Yes. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault, buddy.
Let's hang out.
Come hang out. We can talk about movies. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm never doing this again.
Thank you. Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.